bulk fuel and lubricant needs with propane at selected locations Monday to Friday. And don't forget, their Cardlock location is accessible 24 hours for your convenience. B&A Petroleum. Fuel you once, fuel you forever.
When you're on the road, don't forget, Arcola Co-op is your home away from home, and there's a lot of changes happening at the Arcola Co-op. Their new home center has updated their hours. They're now open Monday through Friday from 7:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. and Saturdays from 8:30 to 5. They have a temporary liquor store location in the back of the C-store, and work is happening for a newly designed liquor store inside the C-store. If you haven't been to the Arcola Co-op lately, come see the changes. Arcola Co-op, you're at home here.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents the all-new Sportscage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rmpchevrolet.com today. Be a part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The all-new Sportscage. Streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Welcome to the Wednesday edition of the all-new Sportscage. It's Maz in for Barney. New year, new me. Are you doing that? Are we still doing that? We're 8 days in. How's that going for a lot of people? Are you doing dry January? How's that go? Are you still going strong? They say usually by the 10th is when people conk out from the whatever you tried to start on the 1st. So if you can grind through another couple of days, maybe you can just keep this thing trucking. Hey, thanks for being part of the show today. We're live on the radio at 620 CK. We're streaming on X and on YouTube. And if you want to watch this show, all you got to do is go to sportscage.com, a couple of clicks, and we'll get you hooked up there. Sportscage is brought to you by Regina Motor Products. Thank you. Hopefully they're having a great new year, selling maybe some Duramax diesel trucks today. That'd be nice, right? Rolling off the lot. A lot happening on the show. We just got some breaking WHL trade news. There's been nothing but trades. The WHL casino has been open for about 48 hours, and everybody's pushing their chips in on this hand of blackjack. Like, no, we're all going for it. The Kelowna Rockets have traded Andrew Cristall to the Spokane Chiefs for Hayden Papanakis and 5 draft picks. So the Spokane Chiefs have officially said, we're all in, and we're going for it too. This just happened minutes ago. We're going to have Dante Caria join us from the Pats after 5. Not only are we going to talk about the Pats, but we're going to break down all of these Western Hockey League trades. Nobody has seen all of these players involved in the transactions over the past couple of days more than he has. And I want to get his take on maybe some of the guys that are going to provide just straight across the board good value, but maybe there's some people, maybe there's some players that have been traded that do they maybe not live up to the hype. Maybe some teams are going to get more that they bargained for. So we'll check in with Dante after 5. Chris Getzlaf is going to join us here in about 15 minutes time. The word came out the other day from the Regina Thunder that Chris Getzlaf is going to be joining the coaching staff. So we wanted to talk to him. He played for them before he played for the Rams, before he went on to his CFL career. So we want to ask, what's brought you out of retirement? And we'll get you back on the sidelines. And because of the wildfires in California, the Flames game tonight against the LA Kings has been canceled. Eric Francis is with the team in Los Angeles, and we're going to go inside the NHL just after 4 o'clock for Southie Mainline Chrysler, and we'll get the latest from him. And we're also going to see if he's got any news on Connor Zary. I'm not sure if you were watching the game last night. The knee-on-knee hit against the Anaheim Ducks, and he went down. He was in a heap of pain. And that didn't look good. That doesn't look like anything that you're going to bounce back from in the next couple of days. That looks like Connor Zary may be out for a while. We'll check in with Eric on that. And I know, it happened 6 days ago, but is it too late for a freezing cold hot take on the World Junior Hockey Championships and Team Canada? Has the statute of limitations expired since Canada got eliminated? I know every dude with a Twitter account and an opinion on hockey has been going off. And there's been some really good takes since Canada lost in the quarters from a bunch of different people that I agree with. And I've just been gathering information and putting the consensus together because a lot of smart hockey people have weighed in. Now that the emotion is kind of gone and there's some clarity coming to this, some of the people that have said things to be like, yeah, okay, this makes a lot of sense. Probably one of the best ones. And this happened right after the game, which you can go back and find. So Rhett Warner, good Sasky guy. We've had him on the show before. He had said that what he thought about the whole Team Canada situation. No matter what kid puts on the jersey, you cheer for those kids that got picked. It's not their problem how the team was assembled. You're just going to cheer for who was wearing that maple leaf, right? It's not their fault. It's everything else that's wrong with Hockey Canada that stinks to high heaven. And they've got a terrible relationship that a lot of people in their eyes may never, ever be fixed. They've run unchecked with arrogance for many, many years, charging the exorbitant fees outside of the scandals. And now the results just aren't there. Now he's inside the hockey business, so he would know probably all sorts of stuff that us, the average fan, would never know about because we only get what the mainstream media tells us or doesn't tell us. And I think a lot of us are pretty intelligent to know that sometimes things get put out in the press and lots of stuff doesn't. There's industries, all people's jobs is to suppress things so it doesn't get out to the public. And there's been a lot of bad press around it. So I thought that one was there. No matter who the kids are, we're always going to cheer for them, regardless of what the management is like. Colby Armstrong, who we've also had on the show, he had said, and maybe you saw this because he put it up on Twitter, is more kids from the dub, more Western Hockey League players, basically stack the team. I don't know if that's the answer. This year, there was a heavy contingent of Ontario Hockey League players, and I think there was only 8 from the Western Hockey League. And were they mismanaged? Probably yes, in David Cameron's eyes. Did David Cameron give you Bob Hartley vibes? He does for me. And then there's always been politics in sports, and we're never, ever going to get away with that. And it just seemed that there were just too many red flags to ignore. And that Hockey Canada at that level, to me, it's run as its own sort of separate organization. So it should be funded as that. If you're a mom or dad and you're paying your fees for your kids to play hockey, and part of that money is going to Hockey Canada, do you have any say in how that money is being spent? The private condos or whatever else? No, you don't. Should it be its own separate entity and maybe have to go after its own corporate sponsorship? It's easy for Hockey Canada to go to a giant corporation like an airline and say, hey, do you want to be a sponsor? As it easier than is some minor hockey association in a small community in Saskatchewan with maybe 400 kids in it. It's just what it is. The world has changed, and I think that maybe they need to do that and operate separately and do their own thing. And maybe they do have to have their own coaches year round, or maybe they do go after more of an American model. But maybe the system is just broken and it needs to be fixed. I think that's what the common thread has been over the past 6 days, whether people have been raging or they've been calm about this. I think the silver lining in all of this, and maybe there have been people that have put this out there, is that because of what happened over the past 6 weeks from the start of selection camp to losing out in the corners, there's enough of a stench or an appetite to actually do something about it and change. Worst thing that could have happened is they win that quarterfinal game, they go on, and then they would have got trucked by whoever they would have played, and it would have masked the problem. And then for another year, it could have been the same thing. And is it always going to be an old boys club? Probably. But will the appetite be there to make the changes? Maybe so, because maybe they, although everybody else in Canada and the hockey world was seeing it, that those people are too. Colson, am I crazy in thinking that this was a good thing that this happened? So maybe this does get exposed and that the appetite for change will be there, although maybe it's painful?
I think you're on the right track. Darren Drager, who we had on, was it Friday last week? His comments were that Hockey Canada's in a dangerous place where thinking they can just kind of pick the players based on the role they'll play instead of just taking the best players. Because every other team is taking their best players and saying, hey, I know you're a starting forward on your team. Here you're going to be third line on the penalty kill. But you're wearing your nation's colors. Yeah. They're going to play, right? That was basically his comments, and I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a point I made. It's running unchecked with arrogance of going that we're smarter than everybody else. I read Andy Strickland, who does the Cam and Strick podcast with former NHLer Cam Jansen, and he said, like, listen, there is no Russian team in this tournament. That's a whole other political issue. But as far as where the countries are going to slot, they didn't have to. Team Canada, nobody had to play a Russian team that they would have probably been exposed against as well. So now they're losing to some of the teams that aren't in that top tier and that elite. And so, yeah, that's a good spot. And it'll be interesting to see but who makes those decisions, that picks those coaching staff? Yes, I get that it's the executive, but what about these guys? Like the Rhett Warners of the world, these guys that aren't so far removed from the game, that have a pretty good pulse on what's happening, to be involved in maybe the selection process of the general manager or the coaching staff or the selection staff of maybe, some guys that were actually there and that see the game differently, because the game has changed. Capital Ford Lincoln text line 306-936-6262. If you've got thoughts on that. I still think it still needs a makeover. There's probably still too many people hanging around from the old days when things were happening that shouldn't been, that people are trying to cover up. And if there's ever a time to blow it up, especially now that the results aren't there, that will do it. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, it's time to talk football. Regina Thunder with one of the newest members of the coaching staff. Saskatchewan Roughrider, Grey Cup champion. He's one of Double's buddies. Chris Getzlaf will join us on the all-new Sportscage next on 620 CKRM.
The all-new Sports Cage is brought to you by Sherwood Co-op, proud supporter of our community with over 500 donations to local charities and nonprofits annually.
Croft Electric. You've probably heard of us because we've been around for over 27 years. We do commercial and residential work? Yes. We do permanent holiday lighting? Yes. We do cabins? Yes. And farms? Yes and yes. We're an authorized Generac generator dealer. We are a full-service electrical company with the experience and the people to service all of your electrical needs. We are Croft Electric. We will be here when you need us. Do it right, do it once. Follow us on all social and call 306-586-1333 to book.
Grow bold with the Fendt Ideal 10 Combine, available at Nick's Service. The Fendt Ideal 10 offers 790 horsepower and features the same Fendt ID engine speed concept made popular in the lineup of tractors. This means maximum horsepower and torque are achieved at lower RPMs, giving you tremendous fuel efficiency. With a 485-bushel grain tank capable of unloading at 6 bushels per second, turn downtime into dust with the Fendt Ideal 10 Combine. See one today at Nick's Service in Emerald Park.
It's time to turn up the heat on trades at Crestview. For a limited time, get a $2,500 trade-in bonus on any trade-in. We're going to work to get you the same or similar payment to what you got right now. And we got something for everybody. Over 200 brand new vehicles, Jeeps, Rams, Caravans, and so much more. Plus, Capital's 100K giveaway is back in Crestview. Check out capital100k.ca for your chance to win. We're turning up the heat on trades at Crestview Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
Clear your calendar for Manitoba Egg Days, happening January 21st through 23rd at the Keystone Center in Brandon. This year, you can take in over 550 exhibitors, including the new Produced on the Prairies Market, and with 34 entries in the Innovation Showcase and over 60 complimentary speakers, you won't want to miss this year's show. You can find all the info you need and purchase admission tickets at eggdays.com. Manitoba Egg Days, where the egg year begins.
The all-new Sports Cage. Watch our live stream at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
We had some breaking news earlier. Western Hockey League trades. Andrew Cristall from the Kelowna Rockets going to the Spokane Chiefs for a player and 5 draft picks, as the Spokane Chiefs are now pushing their chips all in. We're going to take a deeper dive into all of these Western Hockey League trades that have happened over the past 48 hours after 5 this afternoon with Dante Caria, voice of the Regina Pats. I noticed on the show over the past couple of days, Colson, Benny was on yesterday talking about having to go to the dentist. Suits was on yesterday with Barney talking about having to go to the dentist. Did Suter say what he had done at the dentist yesterday?
He didn't say. He said it was some freezing something or other. So
Okay. Because I think I got a dentist story that can top everybody's. We'll get to that in just a bit. Time to go out on the Western Pizza guest hotline and bring in our next guest. He is the newest member of the coaching staff of the Regina Thunder. He was a Saskatchewan Roughrider and a two-time Grey Cup champion. We welcome back to the show Chris Getzlaf, ladies and gentlemen. Chris, first of all, before we get started, happy 42nd birthday tomorrow. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah, on the ball.
If you can believe what Wikipedia says, well, happy birthday. I don't know if there's plans to celebrate. Chris Getzlaf is retired. He's CG Wealth Management. You're a financial advisor. Life is good. And then all of a sudden we get word from Murad that you're going to be joining the coaching staff. Walk us through this. How do you get back into football if you've been out of it for a while? What's the story behind that?
I mean, some of it's just timing and how things arise. You know, obviously, I've always loved the game. I love the offensive scheming that comes along with a game plan and then watching that being implemented on the field. So, you know, for me, I've been asked to coach several times in the past at different levels. And, you know, it's hard for me to fully commit to a true coaching job. And, you know, that's probably why I'm named a consultant, not a true coach with the team, because I don't want to take away from those guys that are the true coaches that are putting in all kinds of hours, right? So, but this is a way for me to be able to, you know, share some knowledge and hopefully help be a sounding board for Carter and the Thunder and advance their offensive capabilities here in 2025.
Now, you played for the Thunder when they were called the Prairie Thunder, but now they're just the Regina Thunder before you went on to the Rams, and then you started your CFL career. How did that time with the Thunder back then shape you and get you ready for what was to come, or what you would thought to come, even at a young age?
I mean, it was enormous to my development. You know, coming out of high school, you know, I'm a boy, I'm not a man. You know, there was a lot of growth that had to happen, both physically and mentally, for me to succeed at the game of football. And my time with the Thunder really helped me kind of get in the gym and hone my skills and be able to help me advance at the next level and eventually to the next level.
With where you've seen not only the Thunder, but the league, the PJFC go with not only the talent level and the coaching, all of that, from the time that you played, does it almost seem like the level of football and everything to go along with it has completely stepped up to a new level that maybe you were at when in your playing days?
Oh yeah, it's at a whole new level as a whole, for sure. I mean, you know, the organization has grown exponentially since the time that I was playing with it, both with facilities and coaching and board and you name it. And they've really created a winning culture. But, you know, to speak to junior football as a whole, yeah, I think that it has also advanced greatly during that period of time. And I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, the dedication and the different technologies and the availability for, you know, workout plans and nutrition, basically everything that comes along with being a professional athlete, and treating your body that way and developing your body that way is just trickling down more and more to younger ages where people are taking it seriously. And that's just allowing them to advance both physically and mentally at a much greater pace than, you know, back even when I was playing.
So how hard was it last year? And it's been a long time since you put on the jersey. The Thunder and the season they had, and they were able to knock off the Hilltops, and they end up losing to Okanagan, and they're just that close to that next level to do that. Does that still tug at you a little bit as a former player when you know the wins and the losses and the highs and the lows?
Oh, of course. I mean, the whole goal, anyone who's competitive, and if you're playing in football, the goal is to win the championship every single year. I mean, no matter what, and you're going to have years that are up and years that are down. But the Thunder have done an incredible job of creating a culture where winning is the expectation, and you're going in each and every year with a chance to win it all. So them not being able to pull off the last game of the season, it's definitely tough, and is something that you got to strive toward being able to accomplish in the future. At one point, it always just seemed like the PFC just ran over whoever they ran into in the championship. I mean, from what I can remember throughout the years, and definitely need to get back to that.
One of the things in chatting with Darian, and we talked about it at dinner at Doubles, sometimes losing, a lot of people, you either win or you learn, and losing a lot of times teaches us lessons. That 2009 loss in the Grey Cup that he had talked about setting up for success in 2013, do you think players from the Thunder that are going to be returning this year and that loss will give them maybe some knowledge that they didn't have going this season forward to maybe put that final piece together to maybe get them over that hump? Because you went through that as well. Did you gain more from the losses you went through and the learning out of that?
Yeah, I think that you do take a lot more learning out of losses than you do out of wins. When wins happen, your game plan and everything went exactly how you planned out, and it ended up with the result that you were looking for, right? Whereas, if you don't come out on top, okay, well, what needed to happen differently for us to be able to come out on top? And I think those learning experiences and just being in those moments and having to go through that, if you come out on the losing side of it, yeah, you're definitely still gaining the experience of playing in a game of that magnitude at that time of the year in the conditions that you're likely going to see at that time of the year. So I think a lot of experience can be pulled from being able to make it that far and play that deep into a season. And you can take a lot of lessons from that.
I mean, obviously, if someone were to just read your Wikipedia, you are a Saskatchewan minor football success story at all the levels going through. There's a lot of parents nowadays, I have 3 kids, and football is a unique sport, and parents are cautious, just like hockey, when it comes to hitting and all that. What advice do you have to parents if they were come to talk to you about if they're thinking about putting the kids in football or something like that?
I mean, to me, I think letting kids try and experience multiple sports is the way to do it. I mean, the only way that they're really going to find out what they truly love is to try and to play a bunch of different things. Obviously, it comes with some risks when it comes to the contact involved with certain sports, football specifically. But I mean, you can only, what's the word for it? You can only, I know, baby
Bubble
wrap
wrap them for so long.
bubble wrap.
Yeah,
That's
bubble
the word
wrap
I'm
them.
looking for. Bubble wrap your child so much, right? Before that's doing more harm than it is good. So obviously there is risks that come along with it, but the rewards are phenomenal. I mean, playing on a football team, you're getting to meet so many friends and so many connections, because there's more people on a football team than any other sport. So you get to go into a locker room and you get to meet that many people along with coaches, mentors, whatever. So the experiences that you're going to get through the people that you meet and the connections that you're going to build with those people, I think is a huge benefit. And that's just outside of the game, which is obviously amazing to play.
That's one thing. Football is unique from any other sport because football, although, there's games, football to me, they're events. Not like a hockey game where you can roll in 15 minutes before and it's neat and tidy and it's all done, you're out the door. Football should be treated as an event where there's the pre, there's the actual, and then there's the after, and there's all of that. And I think you were lucky enough to be part of Rider Nation for long enough that just how crazy. When you look back on your time with the Riders, What's probably the one thing that stands out? Is it the relationships with the guys all this many years later that have stood the test of time?
For sure. I mean, the biggest question I always get asked is, you know, do you miss it? And I always say, yes, I 100% miss it, which I do also miss playing the game. But the biggest thing that you miss is the locker room, the day in and day out. You're getting to play a fun game with a bunch of friends. And I mean, at that level, you're getting paid for it. But eh, really, you're just getting to hang out with buddies every day. So uh, it's as good as it gets. So that's the thing that I always say I miss the most is the locker room.
Probably anybody that was at the dinner with Doubles event on Labor Day weekend at Casino Regina, we got a chance to see that on stage because it was you, Darian, and a bunch of your old teammates, and maybe you guys hadn't seen each other in a while or years. It didn't look like that. It looked like you guys had picked up exactly where you had left off, like you were still in that same locker room, and the shots flying back and forth. And I, like everybody else, couldn't stop laughing at some of the stories. I can only imagine, because I'm sure they were a little toned down or edited, what that was like at the time when it was going on, and to see that. And one of the things, and I think you guys explained it on stage, and I remember seeing it live at McMahon Stadium, because I called you. We're chatting with Chris Getzlaf on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. He's a consultant for the Regina Thunder now. To me, you were a stampeder killer. I don't know if that was just me in my head, but it just seemed every time that Chris Getzlaf and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, you used to kill the Stamps. And there was that touchdown at McMahon Stadium. Was that how did you guys, was that a throwback? Like when Darian rolled one side, threw it the other one, that it's been played a million times on TSN and I love it. What was that play?
That it wasn't a throwback. No, it was a straight drop back, but they happened to bring cover zero, so they weren't going to have any free safety, and it was basically man-to-man coverage, and they were bringing an extra defender that we couldn't block up front. So Darian just had to get in his drop and buy enough time to be able to throw it downfield, and I hit the line of scrimmage with my waggle going full tilt and was able to get behind the defense, and he made a perfect throw, and we happened to score a 60-yard touchdown. We ended up winning the game by 1. That was with a minute and a half left. So that was a bit of a coming out party for me. I had a real good game there. And yeah, Calgary over the years, just how they ended up matching up on defense definitely favored me kind of each and every game. They've tried to man up man for man across the board. So, they would put their top defenders on, Andy or on Weston. And, I'd end up having, their third best man-to-man coverage guy taking me on for the bulk of a game. And if you've ever been to a football practice, one-on-ones heavily favor the wide receiver to start with.
And especially if that's the third guy on the depth chart that they're going up against. No, I mean, it was awesome. I loved it. The Saskatchewan Roughriders last year, a real nice bounce back year. When they're going through maybe my question, the amount of questions you get about the Saskatchewan Roughriders, no matter what team it is and who's coaching or whatever, do you get asked about it more when they're winning, losing, or is it just always the same? Everybody kind of wants your opinion of what's going on with the team at any certain moment. Because I can only imagine during a 7 or 8 game losing streak, everybody probably wants to know what Chris Getzlaf thinks may get the Riders out of the funk.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the questions and the conversation generally happen at a consistent basis, regardless of what's going on. But when there's more losing than winning going on, then obviously that raises a lot more questions or concerns and things that need to be fixed, quote unquote. So, if there's a lot of winning going on, then it's just kind of hunky dory. Everyone's pretty happy, and you're not really calling for a lot of action at that point because the results are there.
Rider fans, are we ever really that happy? We're happy for a bit, but then we're always very cautious looking over his shoulder. Hey, can we switch gears for a second? Talk about the 3rd annual Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation Winter Classic charity hockey game. Saturday, February 1st, Merlish Belcher Place in Saskatoon. Team Lothar, Team Getzlaf. First question. Do you play on your brother's team or are you on Lothar's team? I don't know, like, because that's his team, so I don't know. Do you have to, or like how does that pan out? Like,
No, I played against Lothar each time. So last year was the first year, and he's not going to be able to make it this year either. That my brother did play, so he ended up playing with me, which was amazing. I mean, playing on the same line with him, hadn't been on the ice with him for over 20 years before that, so it's a pretty cool experience, great atmosphere. We ended up losing to Team Lothar again, so that's back-to-back years that my team ended up losing to Lothar's team in a shootout.
So what makes Lothar so good? I know he can kick field goals. He can handle his extra points. But well, he's a good hockey player as well.
Like, it's Lothar's event, so he gets to structure the teams a little bit. So, I mean, you can take that as far as you want to take it.
So basically, this would be like American college football before NIL. There's a bag man somewhere. There's maybe some backroom deals going on. There's some, hey, put this on. How neat was it to see Rider fans show up en masse on a freezing cold weekend to not only support the team and the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation, because getting to know Cindy a little bit over this past year, she's a very passionate lady. And that Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation is in very good hands with everything that she's got pointed. But there's something there. I'm thinking sooner or later that arena may be too small for, where the potential, this thing has to grow.
Yeah, fingers crossed. That would be perfect. That if that place ends up getting too small, I mean, couldn't ask for a better situation. Sorry, but it's a beautiful rink. So the event that went on there last year was awesome. I'm really looking forward to the upcoming one this year, and hopefully we get that many more people out there.
Tickets are on sale. They're $25 each. Team Lothar taking on Team Getzlaf's the Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation Winter Classic charity hockey game. Your brother's working for the NHL, correct, this year? And is it in the player discipline department? Is that the proper term? Or
I think it's more player safety is what it's more.
Oh, player safety.
Player safety, but they go hand in hand, right? They're going to be reviewing the egregious plays that happen and dictate whether that deserves a fine or a suspension or whatever. So, but yeah, it's along the lines of player safety.
How's that been for him? Because, you were a professional athlete, and when you have to transition out of playing and into a, essentially sometimes a private life or a more normal life, that can take a lot on a person. How's that been for him?
I mean, everything that he's ever said to me is like so happy. So that
okay,
he was ready. He was just ready. Like doesn't regret a thing for any of the time or when he hung him up or anything like that. Doesn't look back with any type of regret. So he's in a real good spot, and him getting involved with Hockey Canada as well as with the NHL and player safety. So that's kind of keeping his head in the game and around some of the guys from time to time.
That's good. We speaking of Hockey Canada, were you disappointed at all with our junior team and the results that we had? Not in the team itself, but that we weren't able to get any further than we did?
Of course. Growing up in Canada, anytime that you're on the international stage, the expectation from any Canadian hockey fan is that you're going to win gold, not just medal. You're going to win gold. So, them going out and losing the way that they did, I mean, that's tough. I feel for the kids, because that's a lot of pressure that gets put on them when you're playing at that level. And like I said, they understand that the expectation that I just mentioned is out there, and to not come out on top is super disappointing. And I know it's super disappointing for them.
All right. Chris Getzlaf joining us on the Western Pizza guest hotline. CG Wealth Management. You're a financial outside of football. You're a financial advisor as well. And we're getting close to tax time, and there's a lot of craziness, a lot of stuff going on. If people want to get in touch with you, because what's the best way to do that? No, usually we don't do any free shout outs, but we'd love to pass along, because it's funny. There's a lot of things. I was reading today that whole capital gains things go through, although that's not a law. They still may start charging. I'm like, whoa, these smokes, what's going on here in this financial world that we're living in?
I mean, the capital gains thing, with Trudeau resigning, that it might get squashed, which would be awesome. I mean, that was just an increase that they had done to the inclusion rate back in June 2024. So if that ends up getting passed, or if it get passed over, which would be great, then it would just go back to that inclusion rate that was there before. But I mean, when it comes to this time of year, yeah, it's busy in the financial world. January's super busy because everyone gains more TFSA contribution limit. And then obviously by the end of February, kind of have to have mock tax returns and everything done to get an idea if you need to buy some RSPs and whatnot. So, I mean, best way to get a hold of me would just be to give the office a call at 306-546-5511.
All right. Oh, last question here. And this has nothing to do. Are you a crypto guy or not?
I'm not. I can't say that it's not intriguing and that there potentially isn't something there. My biggest thing with crypto, for the most part, is if I invest in a stock, I'm buying a specific company and I'm going to get a return based on that company's success. Where if I'm buying crypto, there's nothing really tangible there. It's all just a value that is based on the demand that is out there for someone buying that. So yes, if a lot of people buy it, then I'm going to make my investment's going to go up. And if they don't, or it goes vice versa, then it's going to go down. But there's just no real backing to that standing the test of time, if you will. So that's not me saying that it potentially isn't the future or that there isn't something there, because I do think that there is something there with the overall idea of crypto. But that's just kind of my thoughts on it. And that's why I've kind of stayed away from it to this point. Do I wish that I invested in Bitcoin 10 years ago? Yeah, of course I do.
And that's right, because some people are like, I can.
Yeah, I won't deny that for a second, but yeah, that's what's kept me away.
There's been some actors and athletes that have been like, yeah, I got paid in crypto 10, 11 years ago or whatever. And now they're laughing all the way to the bank, because I'm not sure if your Instagram feed is like mine. Every third picture I see is an ad to buy crypto. Well, thanks for clearing that up. So we covered football, we covered some hockey, and we covered the financial markets today. I think this is a good, well-rounded chat. Chris Getzlaf joining us on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline here on the all-new Sportscage. Chris, thanks for your time. Hope to do this again because we get closer to the season. All right, we're going to take a break, and we come back. It's a big day in NFL sports history. Well, NFL history and sports history. Do you remember what happened on this day 25 years ago? If you don't, we'll take a trip down memory lane. It's the all-new Sportscage on 620 CKRM, and we're streaming on the internet at sportscage.com.
At Prairie Gun Traders, your local Vortex optics dealer, now you can dial in from long range and get that monster. You already know the quality and craftsmanship of the Vortex product, and now you can get it right here at Prairie Gun Traders in Avonlea. From rifle scopes, red dots, binoculars, spotting scopes, and more, Vortex Optics is a name that you can trust. See the great selection today, and remember, you have a friend in the game. PrairieGunTraders.ca.
Here at Home Hardware's Bring the New Year home sale, everyone's saving on everything they need to give their home a new look. Like giving their bathroom a facelift with up to $150 off mural and tub and shower units. Or bringing their living room to life with 25% off select Beauty Tone designer paint. In fact, my Midnight Flora is almost done mixing. Thank you. Earn and redeem Scene Plus points during the Bring the New Year home sale. On now at Home Hardware and Building Centers.
Have you been out to the new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram dealer? That's Southie Mainline Chrysler, the newest king of trucks, just 30 minutes north of Regina. They're the small town feel with bigger than city discounts where customers show up and leave feeling like family. With the selection of the entire Mainline Automotive Group, it will be tough for them not to find you your perfect vehicle at the best price in Saskatchewan. Southie Mainline, just 30 minutes from Regina. It's worth the drive every time. Guaranteed.
Welcome back to the all-new Sports Cage. Get social with us. Follow us on X at Sports Cage. Watch our video stream at sportscage.com and always on the radio at 620 CKRM.
Because of the wildfires happening in California, the LA King Calgary Flame game for tonight has been postponed. Eric Francis is with the team in LA. He's normally with us Mondays and Wednesdays. We go inside the NHL for Southie Mainline Chrysler. So he'll be on with us just after 4 o'clock. We'll get the latest from him. Closer to home hockey tonight, Prairie Junior Hockey League, 3 games tonight. Carrot River taking on the Saskatoon Quakers. The Regina Capitals are in Pilot Butte to take on the Storm. Rec Center, 8 o'clock face-off. And Fort Knox, Fort Capel, they're in Assiniboia to play the Southern Rebels at the Southland Co-op Arena. Face-off there is 7:30. Head coach Matt Scott has got this hockey team in first place with a 21-3 record, 44 points. The Capitals are the next closest team with 28 points. The PJHL All-Star Game is on Saturday night in Carrot River. Fort Knox has 6 players. Matt Scott and his coaching staff are going to be one of the coaches there. They are on fire and by far the class of that league. Saskatchewan Midget AAA, 3 games tonight. Yorkton Maulers, Tidgedale Trojans, Saskatoon Blazers in PA to take on the Mintos, and the Regina Pat Canadians are in Estevan to play the Great North Bears. 8 o'clock face-off at Affinity Place. Maddox Schultz is the league's leading scorer with 52 points. 24 of those are goals. With all of these trades happening in the Western Hockey League and all of these first-round picks that are being thrown about, we just got word earlier, Andrew Cristal has been traded from the Kelowna Rockets. Here's my thing, that he got traded and he stayed in the West Division. Okay, so the Kelowna Rockets trade Andrew Cristal for Hayden Papanakis and 5 picks, 2 of those being first-round picks, a 2025 and a 2027, and a 2026 second-round pick. But Maddox Schultz is not going to be a second-round pick. He's going to be a first-round pick somewhere. So one of these picks, that is being back and forth, like the Blades, when they made that Molendyk trade the other day, they pick up 5 draft picks. The draft capital in these Western Hockey League trades is crazy these days. Dante to Caria is going to join us after 5, and we'll talk about all of these Western Hockey League trades. But Colson, are you surprised that they kept him in the West Division? And obviously, maybe Spokane gave the best bounty or the best return or had the most attractive offer, but you would think that, I know Kelowna's loading up for their Memorial Cup next year. But all of that, but you would think maybe you'd want to get him out of the division. I don't know if that's not even a thing, but Andrew Cristal, what do you have, 60 points so far this season?
Let's find out.
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, what you were saying with all the moves in the West here. Who do we have on yesterday? Dustin Forbes, was that his name? Yes. I'm losing names.
Yeah, from
a lot
Lethbridge.
of guests the last few days. He was talking about how the Central Division just stacking up. It's a straight up arms race there, and I know.
Well, it is
Spokane
because
you've
got a 3-way logjam for first place. You've got Saskatoon, who I think is punching above his weight because they weren't expecting to be there. You've got Calgary, who I think that they didn't know what they were getting in Tanner Howe. I don't think they realized how good of a player he is and how good he's been for Calgary, because nobody expected Calgary to be challenging for first place. And then you've also got the Medicine Hat Tigers, which is interesting that the Blades traded Molendyk to the Tigers, like keeping it in the division, especially since they're still in the race. And maybe if they're okay, if the Priestners are like we're okay if we drift out of this, but you're in first place right now. And I understand that you would get the draft capital because maybe you're punching above your weight class at the moment. But when you see that logjam for first place, and then there's the logjam for second place. But I suppose, if you get the players and the picks that you want, you go for it and you take it. Now, the Pats were in on all doing most of their business, and same with the Warriors early. And the Pats and the Warriors, they got 10 wins each. This is all about the future now. But some of these players, I didn't realize, here's my thing, and you guys had Dustin Forbes on yesterday, and he's the play-by-play guy for the Lethbridge Hurricanes. When I looked at the standings, I thought Lethbridge was near the top. They're just mid-pack and have decided to go all in because they think that they have a shot. But what are they in, like 5th or 6th place? Like, they're not... I think they're counting on just getting into the playoffs and then getting dominant. They're not playing good team hockey at the moment. They're not bad, but they're not great.
They're third in the Central Division, and that puts them fourth.
It's like 5th or 6th overall
in the Eastern Conference.
Sure, but they're not exactly lighting the world on fire. They don't have the same records as the Saskatoon and the Calgarys and the Medicine Hats. Yeah. So is Peter Anholt's strategy let's just get in the playoffs? We're trying to assemble this super team, and we're just going to go and we're going to, maybe catch the lightning in the bottle, because Calgary and Saskatoon and Medicine, they're playing good team hockey. They're playing as a team. They're not trying to Team Canada it and just put a bunch of players together and hoping for the best. That's where it shocked me when I was looking at the standings to be like, I thought Lethbridge was higher.
Yeah. And that's also, like you said, why it's weird that Saskatoon's selling. So guessing their coaches and their GM are like, yeah, we've got a good team. They're playing well, but we know that we're not going 3-4 rounds. So sell now while you've got players, build up your draft capital for the next couple of years, as Barney keeps saying, restock the cupboards. So that's the only reason they would do that right now, which if you're in first, I don't fully understand why you do that, but it's the dub. It's such a year-to-year league.
Yeah. And it is. And one thing that I always, when the draft, because before you used to get a player for player trade, or maybe a 2-for-1, but it was never, and maybe a draft pick, but it was never 5 draft picks. So then in the past 5 to 7 years, you see all the ridiculous numbers start coming out. Well, if we give up 5 here, we're going to get 4 back in this one and 2 over here. Where it almost seems like, it's like monopoly money in a way, where it just seems like sometimes it's so high to be like, are you ever going to use that pick, or are you just going to trade that away?
Yeah. The OHL is really bad for it too, because they have in their laws you can't trade first round picks. So second round picks become a bit more valuable. And so for them, it could be 1 player for a player and 10, 12 picks, because you can't trade first rounders. So their trades look ridiculous too when they happen.
Yeah. And how many times do these first round picks not pan out? Like, that's a huge gamble. Now that's in any sport.
Yeah. When you're picking a 14-year-old kid.
Oh, sure. Look at, if you pulled up the NFL top 10 from 5 years ago. Now, these are grown men at usually age 21 to 23. These aren't 14-year-old kids. And to see, even 5 years ago, how many guys that aren't even in the league anymore, and it doesn't work out at that level. So yeah, there's all sorts of, and I would just love to know. There's a lot of kids that aren't first round picks that end up going on to be the glue and the juice of any sport and every hockey team. A lot of Western Hockey League teams built on not first round picks.
Speaking of the NFL, what was that sports history thing you were talking about?
Oh yeah. So once again, how old are you?
27. I'll turn 28 this year.
So on this day back in 2000, it's a big day in NFL history, and it's a big day in sports history, because today, probably Big Al doesn't know this one either, the Music City Miracle happened. And I remember watching this live, and it was an AFC wildcard playoff game between the Buffalo Bills and the Tennessee Titans, and the Bills were winning. There's 12 seconds of the game was pretty much over. It was like, well, the Bills are going to win and move on, and this happened. So if you're watching the stream, here it comes. It's time to relive the Music City Miracle. 25th anniversary edition today.
As opposed to squib kicking it, let him get it with about 12 seconds to go and a possibility for a play.
Dyson and Bird are deep. Taken by Neal. He gives it to Wycheck. Wycheck, that looked like a forward pass. Taken by Dyson. Dyson down the sideline. Dyson's going to go all the way. And there is no flag.
Wade Phillips has no idea what's going on. Like a lot of us, we were watching this, and you're like, it's not that we had never seen special teams play before in football, but you see that, but you've never seen that before. The throwback, and it was the music, so here it comes right there. Remember, if you were watching this live, they did the replay to make sure that this was a backwards pass. They checked this again and again and again, and the game was delayed for a long time, and people were just losing it in Nashville. And the Titans won. Steve Wycheck in the back. There we go. And probably one of the biggest things I noticed in seeing this clip again today, because Nashville went from having real turf, they've got like fake turf. Go back to real grass if you can. Some NFL news today. Speaking of Nashville, it came out yesterday. Ron Carthen, the Tennessee Titans GM, fired after a couple of years. He went 9-25 over his 2 seasons. Brian Callahan will remain as head coach, and the Titans will have the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. And I know that they drafted Will Levis last year, but if I'm you and I have the number 1 pick in the draft, I'm not taking Shedeur Sanders, because as a quarterback, you take Travis Hunter because he can play receiver and he can play DB. He's more of a sure bet. The Shedeur Sanders thing, it may work out for somebody, but it would be Travis Hunter. Latest news out of the NFL today, the Dallas Cowboys have denied the Bears the chance to interview head coach Mike McCarthy. Now, normally, this is a goodwill type situation. I don't know how I don't know how Sharkey feels about this, but Mike McCarthy, apparently his contract expires on January 14th. So he is a free man without a contract. So he may be able to go talk to the Chicago Bears just on their own. And also, if you missed it late yesterday, the Raiders have fired Antonio Pierce. And apparently the word is, although Bill Belichick is signed with the University of North Carolina, Tom Brady has reached out to gauge interest to see if Bill would delay or defer going to University of North Carolina to see if he would coach the Raiders for at least 1 year. Interesting stuff. When it comes to the NFL lives at the Canadian Brewhouse. You and your chance to win and a chance to go to an NFL home opener of your choice. They do $1 off tankards when NFL football is on with Bud Light and Budweiser. You can get the details at CanadianBrewhouse.com. All right, we're going to take a break. Colson, are we good to take a break here? Head into news? We're going to come back. Eric Francis on the other side of the news. He's in Los Angeles, where the wildfires are happening. The NHL game tonight between the Flames and the Kings has been postponed. We'll get the latest from Eric as we go inside the NHL. Stay close. It's the all-new Sportscage on 620 CKRM and streaming at sportscage.com.
For all your grain brokerage needs, call Johnston's Grain. They're hyper-focused on finding growers the best price in the market. Johnston's will deliver the best bids in Western Canada on special crops, milling oats, malt barley, feed grains, damaged grains, and much more. When you think about marketing, think Johnston's. Their expertise helps farmers secure the highest prices while avoiding risky buyers. They'll help you structure your contracts in a way that is good for your farm. Call 844-324-7778.
It's Power Bill Day. This is Tim. Hooray, hooray, it's Power Bill Day. Tim loves getting his monthly power bill because Tim's power bill is teeny. Tim has a residential solar system from Keln Solar. It powers his home and excess power is sent back to the grid for credits on his Sask power bill. Give me those savings. Yeah. Get a teeny tiny power bill. Just like me. Woo! Get a quote on a Keln Solar residential solar system at kelnsolar.com.
Hockey is back, and what better way to kick off the season than a visit to Extreme Hockey and Sport? Check out the Bauer Fit Lab for your custom skate fitting. And stay tuned for the new shooting lane to provide customers with the best shopping experience as possible. And off the ice, look great. Visit their umbrella marketing professionals for all your team and corporate apparel. Extreme Hockey and Sport, 1425 McIntyre Street and the Pro Shop, conveniently located at the Cooperator Center.
0% financing on Bronco Sport, 0% financing on Ford F-150, 0% financing on Ford Escapes. You see the trend here? Future Ford has 0% financing on their huge selection of new vehicles. The 2024 has to go, and they need to make sure they have room for all the 25s they have coming. I know what you're thinking. 0%? What else can you do? How about free oil changes at any Ford dealership in Canada and half-price extended warranty? Check out their inventory at futureford.ca or visit them at Future Ford in Melville today.
Bidding is now open for the timed online land auction for Brian and Dawn Precision of the Melville-Yorkton area. Register to bid at macauctioncompany.com. Up for auction are 6 quarter sections of productive farmland in the arm of Gary with some very good soil types. Got land to sell? Call the Saskatchewan Land Auctioneers today. Bidding on the Precision land ends this Thursday, January 9th at 10 a.m.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. It's mostly cloudy and it's 0 in Regina. I'm Corey Atkinson from the Harvard Media News Center with 620 CKRM News. Regina police have charged 22-year-old Rashawn Norman Cote with second-degree murder related to a May 2024 shooting. On May 12th, officers found a 22-year-old male victim on a Sherwood Drive driveway with gunshot wounds. The victim later died in hospital. Cote was arrested on January 8th and will appear in court tomorrow. He was previously listed as number 9 on the National BOLO Top 25 Most Wanted list. A $50,000 reward remains for information leading to the arrest of another wanted suspect, Daniel Juma Adem, linked to a separate 2023 homicide. Saskatchewan RCMP have arrested 2 Swift Current men following a drug and weapons investigation. Officers executed a search warrant at a 10th Avenue Northwest residence on December 23, 2024, involving teams such as the STRT and Police Dog Services. During the search, police seized 36 grams of cocaine, 2 replica firearms, 2 edged weapons, cash, and drug trafficking evidence. A 62-year-old man and a 61-year-old man face charges of trafficking cocaine, possession of weapons for a dangerous purpose, and possession of proceeds of crime under $5,000. Both men are set to appear in Swift Current Provincial Court on February 12th. Labour Minister Stephen McKinnon says he's considering being the next Liberal leader. McKinnon says it's absolutely essential that the next party leader should be fluent in both official languages.
I think it's important that we have a candidate who understands the whole country, who values all the regions of Canada, and who is able to communicate their ideas in every region of Canada. And I think it's very important right now and in the future that we be listening much more than speaking.
Finance Minister Dominic LeBlanc has already bowed out of the race, while Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly says she's still weighing whether to launch a leadership bid. 4 major fires are burning in Los Angeles County, killing at least 2 people.
President Biden on Wednesday approved a major disaster declaration for California as fires rage in the Los Angeles area. The White House says the declaration allows victims of the fire to immediately access funds and resources to jumpstart their recovery. The federal government is supporting firefighting efforts in California with 5 U.S. Forest Service large air tankers and dozens of fire engines, 10 federal firefighting helicopters, and 10 Navy helicopters with water delivery buckets. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
And good news if you're a morning coffee drinker. A recent study shows more health benefits depending on the timing of enjoying that cup.
According to a new study published in the European Heart Journal, drinking that morning cup of joe may lower the risk of early death compared to drinking coffee throughout the day. Research shows morning-only coffee drinkers had a 16% lower risk of death and a 31% lower risk of dying from heart disease. Michelle Franzen, ABC News.
That's your 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
What do you think you're doing?
Bench presses. It's too cold to go to the gym, so I made one in the garage here. I'm going to wail on my pecs, and then I'm going to do my back.
Lester, since Busy Bee Doors fixed our garage door, you've been spending all your time in here.
That's because it's nice in here now. Do you mind? I'm trying to work out here. Unless you want to spot me.
Lester, you're not taking over this garage. You can be sure of that.
That's why I called Busy Bee.
Call Busy Bee Doors. They can fix or replace any commercial or garage door. Busy Bee Doors, the garage door specialists.
Nobody knows the equipment market like Ritchie Brothers. If you're selling heavy equipment and trucks, Ritchie Brothers will get you the most buyers, industry expertise, and the widest selection of custom selling solutions. Sell equipment your way, from your yard or a Ritchie Brothers facility. Ritchie Brothers will drive demand for your assets like no one else can. Contact your local territory manager today to get started. Visit rbauction.com to learn more about selling with Ritchie Brothers.
And now your 620 CKRM precision weather forecast for Linex Regina. Serious protection, killer looks, 1865 McCarra Street. Tonight, mostly cloudy with some isolated flurries and a gusty northwest wind with a low of -7. Tomorrow, partly sunny at times and a high of -6. And on Friday, mostly cloudy, light snow developing and a high of -6. At this hour in Moose Jaw, it's cloudy. Winds are from the northwest at 32, gusting to 42, and it's +2. Regina is mostly cloudy. Winds are from the northwest at 27, and it's 0. For more local news that matters to you, subscribe to the daily newsletter at sasktoday.ca.
When you want the best for your truck, you want Line-X. Your truck has withstood the harshest elements Saskatchewan has thrown at it. Rocks, gravel, rain, sleet, and snow, and left with no chips, no rust. Line-X protective coating keeps your truck's bed liners, rocker panels, and bumpers looking like brand new. Don't settle for Brand X. Go with Line-X. It's serious protection. Come see why everybody loves taking their truck to Line-X Regina for their rocker panels, bumpers, and more. Line-X. Make your truck complete. 1865 McCarra Street.
Get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
Some will try to tell you 8 inches is enough. Others will say 10 inches will do. But when you want a lot of pizza, you gotta hanker down with the delicious 13-inch pepperoni from Western Pizza. Why mess with a good thing? You know what you want. 13 inches of pepperoni pizza perfection from Western Pizza. Western Pizza. Big on toppings, big on taste. Dine in or take out. Order today.
And get it hot and get it fast. Western Pizza.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents the all-new Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rmpchevrolet.com today. Be a part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The all-new Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
As we start hour number 2 of the show, we've got news out of Riderville. They have re-signed Canadian D-lineman Benoit Marion. Benoit picked up late in the season, and I thought he played real well in the games he played, and you sure started to notice him down the stretch, and especially into the playoffs. He played with the Argonauts, and what a great cup there. And then the Riders re-signing him, which is great. I mean, can you ever have enough Canadian D-line depth? And I think the easy answer to that is no. So he'll be back in green and white for another year. Still no, I know everybody of the past couple days on this show, the CFL schedule is still not out. And I have my own thoughts on that. I mean, we've talked about it, the blown opportunities to get it out before Christmas and all of that. But later on in the show, because I think that yes, it's the schedule and the games, but I think it's the approach and how we go about doing it as well as football fans. As someone who wants to see the CFL grow, who is someone who is passionate, I was a CFL fan, like a lot of people probably listening or watching when it wasn't cool and you were taking your slings and arrows and you're like, and you got your buddies that are NFL purists or whatever they are, college football, that to be like, listen, it's a great game. We all want to see it do real well. Now, maybe be innovative to how you approach this and maybe watch and see what could happen. We'll do that before the show is out. And I'll also give you my dental story. which can top anybody's. Benny's, Suits. 3 games in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League tonight. Yorkton Terriers in Weyburn to take on the Wings. Notre Dame's at Battlefords. How about Notre Dame last night? The Hounds with the big 3-2 overtime win in Kindersley. Now, on paper, going to the game, that wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. And then the Battle of Northern Saskatchewan, Nipawin at Flin Flon. The Viterra Division standings, first place, Yorkton, 43 points. Weyburn, second with 40. The Sherwood Division, it's a runaway train. Melfort, they beat Battlefords they actually lost to the Battlefords last night, 3-1. Still in first place with 56 points. So I don't know if anybody's catching them. In the Nutrien Division, Battlefords in first place, 39 points, and Kindersley is in second place. We're just waiting on Eric Francis here to do Colson. Do we have Eric yet? Go inside the NHL? Okay, he's with us? All right. Fire up the intro, boys, and let's chat with our man, Eric Francis.
Time now for Inside the NHL with Eric Francis on the all-new Sportscage. Inside the NHL is brought to you by Southie Mainline, the Mainline Automotive Group's newest king of trucks. Southie Mainline, just 30 minutes north of Regina. Worth the drive every time. Guaranteed.
Welcome in. So first off, Eric, for anybody who doesn't know, that Eric was traveling with the Flames, and you're in Los Angeles at the moment, correct?
Yeah, correct.
Now, normally you cover sports, but the big news story that everybody's got their eyes on is the wildfires in California that is devastating that city, and neighborhoods are gone. Have you seen this? So what is the scene like there? And what have you seen so far today?
I'm downtown and, I can't see the flames, but it's, the smell of smoke is everywhere. Like in my hotel room, there's smoke, smell of smoke. And, when you walk outside, it hits you like a wall. The ash falling from the sky, like apparently we're 25 miles away from the closest flames. And again, just so people know, I'm right in LA Live, which is right downtown, right next to crypto.com arena, right in the heart of LA. And, so you certainly feel safe in terms of the flames, encroaching upon a massive. We've saw some ash falling from the sky. Like it's, if you walk with your coffee, you look on the top of your coffee a minute in, and it's just covered in ash. And
Are we losing Eric? Guys, yeah, I think grab a better connection or whatever. We'll just call him over. Eric Francis is joining us inside the NHL for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Eric is actually in Los Angeles with the Flames. Now, the game tonight at crypto.com against the Kings has been postponed, and we'll get to them. We'll find out if that's just going to be for the day or if that's going to be further in the season. And if they are they traveling back or what's going on? I know Southie Mainline Chrysler, farewell to 2024 and hello to massive savings at Southie Mainline, up to $25,000 off remaining 2024 inventory. You can save up to $19,000 on 2024 heavy duties. Plus, they have 2024 Jeep Compasses starting at $34,945. They're just 30 minutes south of Regina. Southie Mainline Chrysler, worth the drive every time, guaranteed. There was supposed to be 4 games in the NHL tonight. There still will be 3. Vancouver's at Washington, Colorado is at Chicago, and Florida is at Utah. Besides the Kings-Flames game getting postponed, the other big news out of the NHL today is there will be a Winter Classic in Miami, February 1st, 2026, featuring the Florida Panthers. How they're going to do it, and I get it with refrigeration and you can put ice in certain places and all that, but outside there's been some situations where it hasn't been great. Okay, we've got Eric back. You're in Los Angeles. The game tonight, the Kings and the Flames, has been postponed. Is it to later on in the season? Is it happening tomorrow? What's the word from the NHL?
Well, no word from the NHL in terms of when the game will be rescheduled. I mean, Crypto.com, I believe, is the second busiest arena in North America. It's going to be awfully tough to squeeze that thing in anytime soon, is my guess. But the league and the Flames and the Kings will all try to get together, and I'm sure they're doing that right now to try and figure out when it makes sense. But I can tell you that the Flames that had a meeting this morning, we were all at the arena, and they were just going to do an off-ice workout, and they literally finished their meeting, went out to start working out, and then Ryan Huska had gotten word that the game had been canceled. The players were told, and immediately went into action. All the staffers packing up all the gear, and it's a big effort to do that sort of stuff, especially spur of the moment. And they were endeavoring to try and fly out of LA as soon as possible, but that meant trying to find their charter plane, which is only supposed to leave until after the game tonight. So they had to try and bump that up. Anyway, they're still in LA. The Flames are. I'm still in LA overnight. It's very quiet downtown. Security's high. Ash is falling. It smells like smoke. Everyone's wearing masks in the city. And it's kind of, I'm not going to go as far as to say it's scary because, like I said, I'm downtown. I'm 25 miles from the Flames, but I'm glued to the TV. I've watched probably 10 hours of coverage. The local stations went all night last night showing devastating scenes of people's houses being lost. My stepbrother lives in California, and I just got word that he lost everything living in Pacific Palisades. Just really sad. And you see these people on TV talking about, if you've seen my cat or my dog or my horse, there's stuff, and that sucks to lose it all, but it's another thing to lose animals. And there's only been 2 deaths, which is good, but there's also a lot of criticism here about the way it's been handled and the fact that a lot of the houses don't have access to water, which is kind of crucial when you're putting out fires. It's sad.
That's the crazy thing too, is the fire hydrants. Because people, why aren't the fire department doing anything? There's nothing to hook up to because there's no water in the basin. So when they turn on the hydrants, there's no water there, which is mind-boggling in a city the size of Los Angeles. And the other thing too, and I saw some people on Twitter that they were being interviewed. It was part of a news report. Late last year, their fire insurance was canceled on their home policies. They didn't have fire insurance anymore. And then this happens. Oh. So it's one thing it's an insurance. This is a whole other situation they'll play out. So one of the questions that I get, does Eric and do all the reporters travel with the team? Like, are you on the plane with them? The answer is no. You travel, you cover the team, but you're not a Flames employee. You travel separately, correct?
Correct. I've always, as a columnist, I've never believed that I should ever be on a team's plane. I think it compromises a columnist's job, and it's also a place that the players don't want you. That's their domain. So I do travel separately. And while there's an entourage of people that do travel with the team, and right now it's the mom's trip. All the moms are here, supposed to be having this wonderful time with their sons. And now the whole trip's been cut short by a bunch of hours, and they're in limbo in terms of when they're going to leave. But so no, I do travel separately, and I have a flight out of here tomorrow morning, assuming, we can get out of LA. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but if the winds continue, then it might be.
So let's rewind to last night. There's a couple of things out of that game against the Anaheim Ducks. So Flames win 3-2. That's one. Connor Zary and the knee on knee. What's the latest from him? Because that did not look good.
Yeah, they're going to, he's still with the team here in LA and is here with his mom. When a guy gets hurt, he wants his mom by his side. It doesn't matter how old you are. So he's going to be evaluated when they get back to Calgary tomorrow. They're going to do some imaging. And look, I can tell you that the mood around the Flames is such that they believe he's probably done for the year.
Oh, man.
I know he's a tough, Sasky boy, but anyone who saw that hit saw that it was knee on knee, that there was a hyperextension. Before he even hit the ground, as he spun out of control, both his flippers were off, his gloves, and he grabbed each side of the top of his knee. And you just knew that he was in some significant distress, and he needed help to get off the ice. And it's just one of those awful scenes, and it's even made worse, I think, by his mom sitting 22 rows up.
Oh.
Yeah, there's the video there. It's awful. And and I don't know what you think, Maz, but I don't think it was an egregious hit. Certainly the result is devastating, and it's awful. But I'm not one here clamoring for a major suspension or anything. I think a 15-minute major a 5-minute major game misconduct is punishment enough. I didn't think it was egregious. I thought that it was just unfortunate, two guys going in different directions. Did you have any strong thoughts on it? Because when I spoke to Flames management, even they were kind of like, I don't know. And they'd seen it 20 times, and they still weren't sure if it was dirty at all.
Seeing it live, no. And then seeing it in replay, no. It's unfortunate. But I knew, like you said, as soon as he threw his gloves off and went to grab his leg, I'm like, whatever this is, this isn't good. Because you see there's knee on knee and guys will go down and maybe then they're up on a knee and they're hunched over. I'm like, nope, that right there, whatever that's going to turn out to be, that isn't good. The Flames end up winning the game in overtime. And Jonathan Huberdeau scores again. He's having a good season, but is it too little too late that no one really cares now that he's kind of come around and having a good season? It just...
No, I'm not going to agree with that. I mean, people in this city, I think we're probably convinced that he never would be able to turn it around after what we've seen the last 2 years. But he's changed his game completely. I really do give him a ton of credit. I know management does as well. He's tried to make himself... He's like, if I can't get points anymore, I got to at least make myself useful to the team in other ways. So he became more of a 200-foot player, really hard worker in the corners. Like, he wins most of his battles, and that's not exactly what he was known for in the past. So I give him credit. He's worked hard at it. He's being rewarded. And here's the craziest thing about it. Like, he's a long way off of the 115 points he got his last year in Florida, and I don't think he'll ever get there again. But he's on pace to shatter the most goals he's ever had in a season. Like, he's only been a 30-goal scorer twice. Twice he got 30 on the button. And this year, I haven't done the numbers lately, but I do believe he's on pace for 34, 36 goals. Like, that's pretty incredible that not only has he turned it around a little bit and been more of a well-rounded player, he's also going to shatter his record probably for goals in a season. I don't think he's getting enough credit for that. It's been a huge, important development for the Flames, who already have enough they already have a tougher time scoring goals. So he's been integral in keeping them in this race.
Eric Francis is with us. He's in Los Angeles. He's on the Western Pizza Guest Hotline. We're inside the NHL for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Now, I know that you know this because there's enough people that love the Flames passionately. And if you're part of Rider Nation, you always have all of the right answers. I see a lot of Flames fans online that us winning these games, or the Flames winning games, keeps them in the mucky middle. And that this year was kind of to be like, let's kind of tank this and let's the kids play and let's kind of get out of there. Because look at even a guy like a Celebrini, like San Jose, they go, but they get him. And look how much better they are with just one player injected into the lineup, not only because of how good he is and the personality he brings. And I know a lot of Flames fans would be like, just go get that number one or number two, and then we'll bounce it back. But they're winning, and the mucky middle where they're probably going to be. And if they kind of keep going along this way, that by this point, they were supposed to ditch the old guys. It's all about the kids. You let the Dustin Wolf thing run its course, and you're drafting top 5. It's not turning out that way. Is this messing with your plans, or should we be okay? Should Flames fans just be okay with it? Just be happy your team's winning every once in a while.
Well, I don't think they have any choice but to be okay with it, and they should be okay with it, because ownership has decreed that never, ever will this team be interested in tanking. And that comes from the ownership right on down. And so the stepping orders are, yes, build towards the future, but also, compete for a playoff spot every year, which of course can put you right in the mucky middle, which has been the problem this organization's had for 30 years that I've covered them. I call it a high build, a hybrid rebuild. It's they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Look, had a long sit down with Craig Conroy yesterday, and there's, they want to stay in this playoff race, and every game is crucial at this point. I know we're at the halfway mark, but they need to, continue to win games right now. They will not make a trade of any sort that won't have the long term in mind. There will be no short term trades. Like right now, if Zari's out for the season, they desperately need a center. They've been looking for a center for a year. They're not going to go out and acquire a guy who's on an expiring contract or who's 32 years of age. They're looking for a 24-year-old guy who can stay here for the next 3 years and be part of the solution moving forward. So everything's with an eye on the future, but that future includes right now because they want to make the playoffs. And I disagree with Team Tank. You know, half of Calgary is saying we should tank, get the better draft picks. But I know Murray Edwards and these owners point to Edmonton, Buffalo, Detroit, all these cities where they've been wandering in the woods for, 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 years, some of them, and not made the playoffs or not had a contender since. So I think building a culture of winning is the most important thing. And that's what the Flames are doing right now. It's coming at the expense of good draft picks, but they're building a culture and a template to move forward with that I don't have a problem with.
So before Christmas, I think one of the last shows before Christmas, I floated this idea because NHL viewership or whatever, how do you keep fans entertained in the January, February, March, kind of the dog days of hockey on a Monday or a Tuesday night? And as a fan, what I would love to see, and I put this out there because as a true hockey fan, these games would mean more if they decided to, Gary Bettman, that is, if you're listening, a 1 through 16, just a 1 through 16 top to bottom playoffs. So that would be Vegas, Tampa, 1 and 16 if we went with the standings last night. And Washington, Calgary, Winnipeg, Boston, Minnesota, Vancouver, Toronto, Dallas, Jersey, Florida, LA, Colorado, or Carolina, Edmonton, Colorado. Because all of these games, which can kind of lull you to boredom in Jan, and Eric, you've sat through more of these games than the average person. On a cold Tuesday night when the Minnesota Wild would roll into town, no one has a chance of making the playoffs. These games mean nothing. You want top 8 because do you want to be flying? If you're Calgary, do you want to be flying to Tampa for the playoff? No. So, and it's just an idea because the way to break down, if the playoffs started today in the Eastern Conference in the Atlantic, you know, Toronto, Florida, Boston, Metro, Jersey, Washington, Carolina, and your wild cards would be Tampa and Montreal. And then Pittsburgh and Ottawa. And the Columbus Blue Jackets, where did they come from? Knocking on the door. When did Columbus become kind of sneaky good and start winning games?
Well, and they have one of the top lines in the league right now with Sean Monahan between Kirill Marchenko and Voronkov. And you're going to check your notes later and go, I never heard of those two guys he was talking about that are playing with Monahan. But it's been a formidable line. You know, like, okay, 1 through 16, I've heard that before. I don't mind it. Look, they want the idea was always to build rivalries within your division. And I get that. And I think that's worked for the NHL. So I'm not going to take umbrage with that. I do like the 116 too as a novelty. That's fine too. But you're going to get some odd matchups and some terrible travel situations that are not going to be good for viewership or for the teams or the players. The one thing I would like to see is a play-in. You know, Bettman has really put his foot in, drawn a line in the sand and said that's not happening under my watch. But I still think that's the way to go because you'd add, in about a month from now, maybe a month and a half, a number of teams are going to be almost all but mathematically eliminated. They're going to give up. And the fan bases will give up too. And it'll cost millions and millions of dollars in every city where that happens.
Yes.
If you add 4 more spots, just say, even for one single playoff game or best 2 out of 3, then that just keeps not just 4 more teams in, that keeps probably 8 more teams in the running right up until the very end. And you make millions and millions more. And if that's the word, if that's the name of the game, to make as much money as possible for the NHL, they should do that. So I don't know why they're so stuck on not going to 18 playoff teams or 20 by way of a play-in. But I think the ratings would be huge. The novelty of it would be incredible. It's a no-brainer to me, and it's quite ridiculous to me that they don't consider it, but that's the NHL. Also, I have another beef with the NHL. I just want to throw it out there because I'm going to the Four Nations, face-off with my son. And, I think it's going to be a great tournament. Like, I love the old Canada Cups and all that. It's going to be amazing. You can't buy merchandise right now for the Four Nations face-off. Like, in what world do you go into Christmas and you have a major event that's designed for one reason, to make money for the PA and the league, and you don't have merchandise out, and you miss the Christmas season, and we're a month out from the tournament, and you don't have merch out? What horrific sort of management allows that to happen? Like, somebody help me with this. I was planning to buy a jersey. They unveiled the jersey 6 months ago. You can't buy them. Nice work.
Yeah, because normally in a coordinated world, the minute that press conference happens live on X or wherever it's happening, the online shop is open and you're allowed to buy. You're not allowed, but you're encouraged to buy, and you would do everything to do that. Yeah, it's funny. When I was putting together the original 1 through 16, I think somewhere like the 7 to 10, it was the Oilers and the Leafs in that first round. You're telling me that the numbers that would draw TV-wise to do that. But I agree, if there was a play-in, and I also agree, not all of these cup rounds need to be 7 games. Make them 5s. If you started with the play-in 3s and then go to a 5s, and then the last couple of rounds can be 7s, but they don't all have to be the traditional 7s. And listen, you went to 3-on-3 video game hockey to cheapen your game so you could wrap it up, because all of that, everybody loves it. So you were willing to change and compromise what you were doing. Why won't you at least look at, so these games coming up, like you had said, so the teams and the fan bases don't pack it in over these next couple of months, that there's actual meaning to the game. I think a lot of us watch those NFL games on the weekend because there was playoff implications up until the last game of who was getting in and who wasn't. That's what makes sports exciting for fans.
100%. You could be in the mushy middle like the Flames every year, but as long as you still have a chance at the end, you're still selling tickets and merchandise and popcorn. But if you cut that off early, then you lose millions.
The Winter Classic, and I know you guys already covered this, that was such a bad hockey game. They announced today that February 1, 2026, I'm not sure if you already have your travel assignment yet, Eric, the Winter Classic is going to be in Miami. Do you have a room at Matthew Tkachuk's house you'll be staying in when you go to cover the game?
I think all his friends and family would have beaten me to that room. Look, those things are novelty acts. I have been curious for a long time. I want them to do a warm weather outdoor game. Just, they have the technology now. I mean, yeah, it could be dicey, but I love that they're doing this. But don't expect anybody outside of Miami to care. That's kind of my thing with all these outdoor games. The novelty's worn off, obviously, for everybody en masse, but there's still curiosity. And in every city that these things go to, it's a celebration of the game. I went and covered, I remember covering the All-Star game in Florida like 20 years ago. And then I had to leave early because the space shuttle blew up, and they sent me to Cape Canaveral to cover the, no pun intended, the fallout of the whole thing. It was awful. But, people in that city at the time love the celebration, love the fact that the eyes of the league are, in their mind on their city. They're not really, but locally it's something to be excited about and buy your tickets and bring your family to.
Panthers are playing great hockey. Connor Hellebuck is now 24-6-2 on the season. He picks up his 300th win last night. I think since we're in January, can we say that the Winnipeg Jets are for real? Can we, I'm not a Jets fan, but can you buy Jets stock and feel okay? Like the rug isn't going to get pulled out from under them, that they're far enough into the season that this is a good thing?
As long as they still have Hellebuck, I mean, I think they are world class and a legit contender. I think it's an awful lot of it. I think is on his shoulders. I was trying to think today. When was the last time a guy was this much a clear-cut winner of the Vezina Trophy? And I know there's hockey to be played and all that, but right now, if they were to have the vote, if it wasn't unanimous, whoever didn't vote for him unanimous, should lose their credentials. So, he's that much better than anybody else. And that makes a big difference for your team. Every time you go into the game and you know that you got the best goalie in the world by a mile, that's a huge advantage for everyone. He's playing great hockey. He's been the best goalie, for a year and a half now. And he's doing it with a bullet now. It's pretty impressive to watch. I'm for him. I'm sad he's American, though.
But doesn't that scare you, though, that if he does get injured, the drop-off is huge? Where you look at a team like Vegas, who Ilya Samsonov, when he played with the Leafs, I'm like, oof, And then I'm like, he's in Vegas. I'm like, oh, but for his 1.3 or whatever, $1.5 million contract, and then you see his record and that Vegas plays a second goalie or whatever, that's almost smarter that you've got two guys going, because you may need that second guy somewhere along the way, because a lot of teams are winning with 1A and 1B these days.
I think that's the magic elixir. If I'm a coach and I have my dream scenario, I'm going to the playoffs with two goalies that both played 41 games and we're both really, really good, battling with each other, competition and all that, so that if anything does go wrong in the playoffs or an injury comes up, which happens all the time, you're totally safe in the knowledge that the other guy is just as good as your starter. It's a luxury that you don't see very often, so that's why it doesn't happen. But look at Samsonov. Yeah, does it shock you that he's flourished in Vegas? They won a cup with 5 different goalies that year, and nobody had heard of any of them except for one. And I look at what's happening right now in Colorado. Mackenzie Blackwood. I don't think anybody thought he was like a top tier goalie, and I'm not sure anyone still thinks that. Well, you put him behind a team like the Colorado Avalanche, and suddenly he's winning every game he starts right now. So, and I don't think that surprises a lot of people either. You just need someone competent enough to be behind a great team like that. So, it is perfect. In a perfect world, you have 2 goalies, not just one.
And I watching some of that Vegas San Jose game. They're big, they're strong, they skate. And here's the other thing. Mark Stone's an animal. He doesn't give up on pucks. You better not, because look what happens. Oh, and next thing you know, it's top shelf. And that's a goal. I'm glad that he's playing. And I get that people want to joke about the LTIR or whatever. Mark Stone, when he's healthy and playing, is one of the reasons why you're like, no, that's the way that hockey should be played. I just like the way that he plays. He's a Western Hockey League guy, and you got to like that. All right, let's switch gears here. The TGL, I was flipping channels last night, and I'm like, okay, this is, oh my God, that is like the best golf simulator I've ever seen. I'm like, wait a minute, this is that Tiger Woods thing. Colson, do we have some footage of that? I don't know. Did you get a chance to see any of this? What did you think?
The Flames played last night, but I will admit, I'd read that day all about it. And just because I didn't know anything I'd heard about it, but I wanted to hear all the ins and outs and the size of the screen. And the sand is the only other place in the world where they have sand like that is at Augusta National. They've imported this sand. It's at the SoFi Stadium around here, and it's built just for this golf simulator and this $1 billion league. Are there people in attendance as well?
Yeah, okay. Yes, okay.
Oh yeah, okay. So paint the picture.
So let's paint the picture. So an enclosed stadium with like street level seating, like low level seating, and then there was a second tier, and it was like a giant rectangle. Fancy lights and cameras, a bunch of drunk dudes in quarter zips. Oh, sorry. Somebody's wearing a quarter zip on the screen. They're like just with their drinks at the screen. And they're like, yeah, like pretend it's like the Phoenix Open, but it's a couple of months before. And it's just like guys hamming it up for the camera. And so then you have the golfers. And basically, if you didn't see this, they're basically playing probably one of the most expensive, well-designed, like video screen golf simulators that you can find. But they're teeing off from real grass boxes. There was 3 grass boxes that they were teeing off from, and that they were hitting the irons and in the wedges and stuff from. They were putting on a green, but they were in the sand, and they were basically playing video golf. But these were professional golfers. It was Team Tiger against Team Rory, and they were there. Everybody's mic'd up, so you're catching the commentary. This is. That's so funny. Now every dude at a golf simulator with 3 whiskeys in him is going to think that he's on this TV show now too. It's going to be the exact same. It's like, Mom, I've made it. There's going to be the simulator, this TGL simulator golf tour probably too. It was very neat because you see these guys hit into the largest screen for simulator golf I've ever seen. Colson, do we have a clip of that we can throw up? Oh, he's working on it. We'll pull it up here, but I thought it was pretty neat. And so they did 1-on-1 play. They did 3-on-3 play where it was like shot, Like somebody teed off, next shot, next. So as opposed to, and then they did team play, and did they golf all 18? Because when I caught it, they were finishing the 9th and going on to the 10th. It was 15? Okay.
Yeah, it's 15, and they have overtime, and it's alternate shot at one point, and it's the most,
and it was
they've modified golf in every possible way they could. And, I'm not going to crap on it. I love when people try new things. We should always encourage these sports to try new things. I'm sure there are people who hate it, but I literally just want to see 5 minutes of it. Like, I'm hoping Colson pulls it up now so I can see it, because I just want to see what it looks like. And I do feel like within 5 or 10 minutes, I'll have an idea of whether or not I'll ever watch it again or not. But it's also
here it is,
based
right here.
around gambling.
Yeah, so there it is right there.
Yeah.
Look at that.
What course are they playing?
Oh, we've talked before. I don't care for golf, but like, okay, so there's the crowd.
Yeah.
Like there's, so it's impressive. ESPN is doing it. Scott Van Pelt was coming in. He did like the halftime. Like it was very well done. Obviously it's Tiger Woods. It's like all of these guys. I'm sure it's going to be now, because the beauty of it is with the NFL winding down and the playoffs coming up, there's going to be that huge void of what are you watching? And
that's what they did
and exactly. And the PGA Tour is just slowly getting back into it. I know that they usually start the season in Maui, correct? Because I remember we were on vacation in Maui one time, and the PGA was getting started there. So this will be great filler. They're going to move this around the country to these different locations. That's what I could pick up from there, because I know that you're Mr. Golf. And so I was just wondering, maybe was there not a press invite or a junket for you to go check this out ahead of time?
No, it's no. But I was under the impression it was just in this SoFi, the stadium that's built just for this event, and this was supposed to launch a year earlier, but the roof caved in, and it delayed the entire thing for a full year just because the roof of the one venue collapsed. So I didn't know that there were other venues. Like, God help me, are there going to be home teams and away teams? Like, I thought it was all happening in one place, but. Hey, check it out, and we'll reconvene and talk about it in a week or two. And I wonder if it's going to grow on people or not. I'm all for innovation, and this is innovation to the hilt, right? You're using nothing but technology to try to replicate a sport that most people fall in love with because you're in the great outdoors. Now you're taking the entire appeal of the great outdoors out of the picture, and you're doing this so that people can gamble on your sport in large part. That's a big motivator for this. And I hope it works for them.
Oh, I think it will. From just the shots of the crowd and the dudes, they already captured the right demographic as far as the drunk guy and the quarter zip, double fisting it, who's probably not only running up a huge bar tab, but on his DraftKings app down there was probably dipping into his credit limit on his Visa or MasterCard. All right, Eric, stay safe. We'll chat soon. It's Eric Francis inside the NHL for Southie Mainline Chrysler. Eric is in Los Angeles. The Flames game tonight against the LA Kings at Crypto.com has been postponed. No word yet on when it will be rescheduled, as Eric stated earlier in the interview. That Crypto.com is the second busiest arena in North America. So it's not just like you can just fit in something the next day. If you missed any part of that interview, you can always catch the podcast of Eric or any part of our show. We chatted with Chris Getzlaf in hour one as well. You can always find that at sportscage.com. We're going to take a break, and we'll be back with more. It's the all-new Sports Cage on 620 CKRM.
The Country Music Rewind with Colin Lovequist.
We are going to step in the time machine and take you back to this time period, 1991, and look at the top 25 songs. There's a few surprises, but 1991 was a great year.
The Country Music Rewind with Colin Lovequist. Brought to you by Crawford's No Frills. Saturday afternoons at 4 and Sunday afternoons at 1 on Country's Greatest Hits, 620 CKRM.
Act fast when wildlife damage happens. Don't wait. Delaying may impact your claim. All Saskatchewan producers may be eligible to receive funding for both preventative measures and wildlife damage concerns. To learn more about wildlife damage prevention and compensation options, contact your local SCIC office or call 1-888-935-0000. SCIC. Here at every turn.
Oh, it's freezing. I think we're going to turn up the heat on trades at Capital Ford Lincoln. How would you like a brand new vehicle for the same or similar payment to what you got right now? Well, with the help of a giant $2,500 trade-in bonus, it's doable. That means prices are as low as $170 weekly plus tax on a brand new F-150. Plus, Capital's 100K giveaway is back. Check out Capital100K.ca for your chance to win amazing prizes. Capital Ford Lincoln, proud member of the Capital Automotive Group.
I hate when my power's out. It doesn't matter if it's a storm, accident, or planned outage. Losing power is frustrating. But you can keep your lights on with a Generac standby generator from Croft Electric. Even when your neighbors are sitting in the dark, a Generac standby generator can power your home. Don't let power outages ruin your day. Get your home a Generac standby generator from Croft Electric. Financing now available. CroftElectric.com.
Canada's largest indoor farm show, Manitoba Egg Days, is back for the 48th show. Mark your calendars for January 21st through 23rd as we invite you to see over 550 exhibitors, over 60 speakers, and over 30 new egg innovations. You can find all the show details at eggdays.com. Early bird tickets are available now for $15 per day or $40 for all 3 days. We will see you at Manitoba Egg Days, where the egg year begins.
The all-new Sportscage is live streaming from our Century Studios in downtown Regina. Watch now at sportscage.com. Be part of the show by texting 306-936-6262. 620 CKRM.
The show today is brought to you by Regina Motor Products. I know yesterday there was a lot of dental talk on the all-new Sportscage. It's Maz in for Barney. Barney will be back tomorrow. Let's see. Benny was on doing the SJ report, but he said he was at the dentist earlier in the day. Colson, you guys had Suter on. Now, Suter was at the dentist, and he said he got frozen, but did he say what he had done as far as dental procedures went?
He didn't say what's procedure. He just said that he'd gotten a bit frozen, but it sounded like it was wearing off mostly because he came through pretty clear. But yeah, he was frozen and guess would have had the droop face. And then, yeah, Benny was... Apparently, it was easier to schedule a dentist in Regina than one in Melville over the holidays, which, fair enough.
The dental demand in Melville. But I can top. I don't know what those guys had done, but I bet you I can top the dentist story with mine because of some excruciating pain starting last Friday, which led to an emergency trip to a dentist I'd never been to on Saturday to get x-rays done to find out that one of my gums or one of the roots of a tooth was infected, to find out sitting in a chair Monday morning at 9:45 having an emergency root canal done. That's not a lot of fun. That's not a good way to start the new year.
Regular root canals are fun, let alone emergency ones.
I had never experienced pain like that in my life before because there was nothing. They gave me some Toradol and obviously some amoxicillin for the infection, but everyone was really nice or whatever. But the pain. All I could do is just do laps in the kitchen. I just walk around. I couldn't sit down. Couldn't look at a computer. Couldn't do anything. You're doubled over in pain. So I show up unannounced at the dentist. No, remember the dentist? I told this story before. Showing up. I'd never had a crown done before, and at the time, Dr. Tim, the dentist, was mentioning he was going to go see the Grateful Dead in Vegas, the Spear, but the tickets were expensive. But then I ended up getting a crown. And then he told me, yeah, I bought the more expensive tickets. I have no idea what he's going to buy now because of the emergency root canal. I'm not sure if he's going to Vegas. I know the Eagles are playing, so maybe he was in the third deck at the Sphere. Maybe he's going to be on the floor now. But I do know the emergency root canal was more than the crown. And it's the same tooth.
Of course. It's always the same tooth.
Of course it is. The only thing that made, well, I don't know. Monday was painful for a couple of reasons. Now, when I'm hosting the show, I like talking about wrestling. A lot of people love wrestling. When it comes to town, it's sold out. You can't find a seat. People love wrestling. I don't care who you are. Maybe you don't admit it, but wrestling's important. So Monday, a new era in World Wrestling Entertainment started. They left normal cable television and started streaming on Netflix, which I thought, because it was picked up by the cable services, it would still be on in Canada. Like it's on around the world. No, it's not. So if you didn't have Netflix, there was no Monday Night Raw for you this week. It needed to be on Netflix. So they had a giant 3-hour show, and it was at, what's that place? Oh, the Intuit Dome in LA where the Clippers play. So it's a brand new arena, all fancy, all decked out, all the bells and whistles, except you got all of this stuff. Alan Lee, I'm not sure if you see this. Would you agree with me that everything was cool except the wrestling? The wrestling was horrible.
Yeah, it wasn't great. Honestly, I think they just wanted to get new fans. I was hoping for some more guys. Like there was a guy named Penta that he's supposed to be on the show, but they didn't put him on. They basically
they did.
They had like a vignette, but I was looking forward for a match.
Yeah, so they had the long matches, like the Solo Sikoa Roman Reigns match that was super long, and then they trotted out a bunch of old superstars. Now here's the part, and this kind of hurt my heart a little bit, and I think for a lot of us, that grew up in the era of Hulk Hogan being like a hero, can we roll this? Hulk Hogan, the crowd turned on Hulk Hogan.
I've got a new tag team partner right now. I got Hulk Hogan's Real American Beer that I've teamed up. And in the past, I've had a whole bunch of partners down the line. I had incredible partners like.
So normally when Hogan comes out, it's a huge pop, and everybody loves the Hulkster, right? And in his many incarnations, whether he was with WCW, in the NW, whatever he is. But then I was like, oh, this is not going well. And so that was about 20 seconds. It was about an uncomfortable 90 seconds because he was trying to do a promo for this new light beer that he's selling. And the other thing too is he has had so many surgeries, he could barely walk to get out to the point where he was standing, and he looked incredibly uncomfortable just standing there. So I don't know. As far as the glitz and the glamour, but even the announce team like Michael Cole and Pat McAfee were off. I'm sure they're going to get it, but it was one of those things for a lot of expectations. If you're a wrestling fan, you kind of hope more. I like the fact that CM Punk won and he didn't get hurt, which he usually does. But probably the coolest part of the night that I was okay with, and then we'll go to break, is that The Undertaker came out, and he was the American Badass Undertaker. We came out on the Harley Davidson.
That was pretty cool. My only regret is I wish he kind of acknowledged Rhea Ripley first, but then I find it kind of weird. He zoomed out first, did a lap around the ring, then he did, his signature pose afterwards. I felt like he big leagued her, but in my opinion, I don't know. He did it afterwards. So that's the main thing.
Well, listen, Al, whenever you're on the show, because normally when it's Colson and Curtis, we sometimes cater to them. But when Big Al is running the show, we talk wrestling. All right, we'll take a break, come back. There's been a lot of action in the Western Hockey League. There's been more trades today. Dante Caria from the Pats is going to join us after 5. We're going to break down some of this stuff. But there's news out of Major League Baseball. And this will just give you a little indication of how big the money is in Major League Baseball as opposed to the NHL. We'll do that in a couple of minutes. It's the all-new Sportscage, streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
B&A Petroleum is a Southern Saskatchewan family-owned business that's there for you. They've been supporting their clients for over 30 years with locations in several communities throughout the southern part of the province. B&A Petroleum is available for all your bulk fuel and lubricant needs, with propane at selected locations Monday to Friday. And don't forget, their Cardlock location is accessible 24 hours for your convenience. B&A Petroleum. Fuel you once, fuel you forever.
Croft Electric. You've probably heard of us because we've been around for over 27 years. We do commercial and residential work? Yes. We do permanent holiday lighting? Yes. We do cabins? Yes. And farms? Yes and yes. We're an authorized Generac generator dealer. We are a full-service electrical company with the experience and the people to service all of your electrical needs. We are Croft Electric. We will be here when you need us. Do it right, do it once. Follow us on all social and call 306-586-1333 to book.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it.
I don't even know.
That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
Get your equipment out of the rain and snow and under the roof of a new storage building from Olympic Buildings. Have a warm, dry place to work and keep everything out of the cold. Olympic Buildings. Buildings to meet your budget. Visit olympic-buildings.ca.
The all-new Sports Cage. Watch our live stream at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
I know we were talking about this earlier. It's the 25th anniversary of the Music City Miracle when the Tennessee Titans beat the Buffalo Bills in an AFC wildcard game in just a crazy play. It's hard to believe 25 years. I remember watching that live and you're like, wow. And then you're like, God, it's been 25 years so far. Also, did you know, I know Al Colson, you guys have no idea. Elvis would have been 90 years old today. Elvis's 90th birthday. All right, Major League Baseball news. If you're a Jays fan, the hits just keep on coming. If you're a Jays fan, are you just destined to know that you don't have any good news coming your way ever? As long as Shapiro and Atkins are running this thing. Word from Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s camp, him and the Jays are about $100 million apart on a contract extension, according to Vlad Guerrero Jr.'s representatives. That's not good news. I saw some funny memes the other day pop up when the prime minister of the country was saying that he's going to resign. Keep in mind, the asterisk there, the fine point, like in a rental contract at the counter in Vegas before you pick up a car, there's a lot of fine print. Intend to. People were also making memes with Shapiro and Atkins' faces along with the prime minister to be like, people that should be resigning today from their positions. Jays fans aren't happy. Justin Verlander is going to play his 20th Major League Baseball season in a Giants uniform, a one-year deal that will pay him $15 million. It's crazy. The money, I know that it's considered there's four major sports, the NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the NHL. But let's not kid ourselves. The NHL doesn't even count when it comes to money. The Juan Soto deal alone, the Ohtani, like the money is just ridiculous. So Justin Verlander, who's 42, his ERA in his last 7 starts is 8.10. He's going to get paid $2.5 million more than Connor McDavid will next year, who is the absolute best player in hockey, who is the highest paid player. He's a 42-year-old pitcher that may make 10 starts. That's the economy of scale. And then just to keep going down this path, Justin Verlander, who for a long time has been really good, and he's kept himself in shape and kept himself in the, if you can play 20 years in any sport, that's amazing. Justin Verlander's one-year deal worth $15 million with the Giants will bring his career earnings to over $410 million. Second all-time to only Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod, at $455 million. And not only is Justin Verlander probably happy about that, but probably the second happiest person about that would be Justin Verlander's agent. All right, hour 2 of the Sports Cage is in the books. When we come back, hour 3, it's been a flurry of activity in the Western Hockey League over the past 48 hours when it comes to trades, including Andrew Crystal, who was moved from Kelowna to Spokane today. We'll dive into all of that and more with Dante Caria from the Regina Pats, play-by-play guy for our team. All right, it's the all-new Sportscage on 620 CKRM, and if you're streaming and you're watching right now at sportscage.com, thank you. Give us a click, give us a follow, and a subscribe. We appreciate it.
CoolBet has all the hot games. For all the free-to-play casino games, head to coolbet.co. They've got sports odds, including Saskatchewan senior hockey, plus all the sports odds you can think of. From the ice to the field to the court, CoolBet has you covered. All at your fingertips. No risk, just thrill. So why wait? Get in the game and embrace the unexpected at coolbet.co.
Howdy, Wood Country Woody again. I gotta tell you, when I first learned TimberTech composite decking material is super low maintenance, well, that pretty much sealed the deal right there. I'd rather sit on my deck than sand it, tell you what. But TimberTech composite decking material also comes with tons of pretty colors and features a sweet little hidden fastener system. When you need pretty and pretty easy to build with, it's TimberTech from Wood Country.
Your home is your castle.
In McLean, Estevan, and Tisdale.
Have you been out to the new Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, and Ram dealer? That's Southie Mainline Chrysler, the newest king of trucks, just 30 minutes north of Regina. They're the small town feel with bigger than city discounts where customers show up and leave feeling like family. With the selection of the entire Mainline Automotive Group, it will be tough for them not to find you your perfect vehicle at the best price in Saskatchewan. Southie Mainline, just 30 minutes from Regina. It's worth the drive every time. Guaranteed.
Bidding is now open for the timed online land auction for Brian and Dawn Precision of the Melville-Yorkton area. Register to bid at macauctioncompany.com. Up for auction are 6 quarter sections of productive farmland in the arm of Gary with some very good soil types. Got land to sell? Call the Saskatchewan Land Auctioneers today. Bidding on the Precision land ends this Thursday, January 9th at 10 a.m.
It's 5 o'clock. Good afternoon. It's mostly cloudy and it's +1 in Regina. I'm Corey Atkinson from the Harvard Media News Center with 620 CKRM News for Echo Sound in Fort Capel. Stay connected with a new cell phone from Echo Sound. Call 306-332-6711. A 22-year-old man has been charged with second-degree murder in connection to a May 2024 homicide in Regina. On May 12, 2024, police responded to a firearms incident on Sherwood Drive, where a 22-year-old male victim was found with gunshot wounds. The victim was transported to hospital but died from his injuries. Last night, police arrested 22-year-old Rashawn Norman Cote. He faces 1 count of second-degree murder and will appear in Regina Provincial Court tomorrow. In December, Cote was number 9 on the BOLO Top 25 Most Wanted list. A $50,000 reward remains for information on another suspect, Daniel Juma Adem. 3 Saskatchewan residents have had their hunting licenses suspended and are facing fines totaling more than $17,000 for illegal hunting. The provincial government says the trio was sentenced in Moose Jaw and that various items, including firearms, ammunition, wildlife trophies, and meat, were forfeited to the Crown. The charges stem from an investigation in November 2023, where conservation officers saw a social media post of a woman posing with untagged white-tailed deer. Officers then saw more photos with different animals and executed search warrants before laying charges. A pair of Quebec water bombers and their crews are in California helping fight the massive wildfires that are tearing through the LA area.
Quebec's Forest Fire Protection Agency says 2 Canadian-made CL-415 firefighting aircraft are sent to the U.S. each fall. The length of this year's deployment was extended because of the emergency in LA's Pacific Palisades neighborhood. Each plane is dispatched from Quebec with its own crew composed of a pilot, co-pilot, and technician. Thousands of firefighters are battling blazes that have killed at least 2 people and destroyed more than 1,000 structures across the Los Angeles area. Quebec says the province is ready to send additional firefighters to the state if they are needed. Giuseppe Valiente, The Canadian Press, Montreal.
Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro will be sworn into office once more on Friday, despite widely believed to have lost last year's presidential election by a landslide to Edmundo Gonzalez. Reporter Regina Garcia Cano has more.
The controversy of the results began when electoral authorities, loyal to President Maduro, declared him the winner without showing detailed vote counts. The reasoning was a cyber attack. The opposition, led by Maria Corina Machado and Gonzalez, rejected those results and said they'd posted evidence online showing that Gonzalez had defeated Maduro with twice as many votes.
Gonzalez has paid the price for challenging the 25-year rule of the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. Under pressure, he has gone into exile, and on Tuesday, he said son-in-law Rafael Tudares has been kidnapped in the capital, Caracas. And a Regina woman is celebrating a $1 million lottery win. Plina Chakma won the Max Millions prize on the November 29th Lotto Max draw. She scanned her ticket at a store and was stunned to realize that she had matched the winning numbers. Chakma immediately called her brother to confirm the win. Now that it's official, she says she hasn't made any plans yet, but may donate some of her winnings. She purchased her ticket at the Sobeys on East Quan Street in Regina. It's 5:04, and that's your 620 CKRM News. Read more stories from around your community and around the province at sasktoday.ca and 620ckrm.com. Your weather is next.
So, since that little ding on my car last week, I don't know where to take it.
I don't even know.
That's easy. Take it to Regina Motor Products.
Who said that?
I did. Down here. I'm Terry the Tire. Regina Motor Products Chevrolet Collision Center and SGI accredited auto body repair is a full-service collision and body shop that works on all makes and models. Just submit your claim to SGI and set an appointment to get your appraisal done. Easy.
I bet you're tired after saying all that.
South at Highway 1 and 6, Albert Street. RMPChevrolet.com.
Oh, finally. There it is.
Whoa, did you order pizza?
No, even better. I called Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer.
Oh, so what'd you order?
Well, they have all the top-of-the-line smartphones with all the latest features and so many great plans, man.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it is the pizza guy. Hey, guy.
Tell him to go away. We're waiting on Echo Sound.
Echo Sound, your SaskTel authorized dealer in Fort Qu'Appelle. EchoSound.ca.
We'll still take the pizza, though.
I'm Corey Atkinson with your 620 CKRM Precision Weather Forecast, brought to you by Linex Regina. Serious protection, killer looks, 1865 McCarra Street. Now here's Precision Weather meteorologist Phil Spivak.
Mostly cloudy sky for tonight and quite a breezy night. Winds could gust upwards of 60 kilometers per hour at times. Temperature backing down to around -7. Not that cold of a night at all, but certainly feeling quite chilly with the wind chill as it gets down through the mid, even upper minus teens overnight. But nothing more than a few flurries around. Those will wind down by morning. Cloud cover mixing with some partial sunshine, the high around -6, so little movement. May start to very slowly drop back through the afternoon, but only a slow decline. The wind, strong, 25 to 45 for a while, backing down later day. Thursday night, partly cloudy, lighter wind, -15. And then Friday, cloud cover returns. Chance for some light snow through the afternoon, the high around -6. Moderate snowfall Friday night into Saturday with a high of -7. And then some colder air comes in. It turns a bit blustery for Sunday. Flurries may linger. Temperatures dropping out of the teens to around -23. With your 620 CKRM weather forecast, I'm Precision Weather Meteorologist Phil Spivak.
Across the province at this hour, Saskatoon is 0, Swift Current is +1, Assiniboia +1, Broadview Moosomin -2, Yorkton Melville -1, Estevan -1, and Weyburn is 0. At this hour in Moose Jaw, it's mostly cloudy. Winds are from the northwest at 33, and it's 2 degrees. Regina is mostly cloudy also. Winds are from the northwest at 33, and it's 1 degree. For more local news that matters to you, subscribe to the daily newsletter at sasktoday.ca.
When you want the best for your truck, you want Line-X. Your truck has withstood the harshest elements Saskatchewan has thrown at it. Rocks, gravel, rain, sleet, and snow, and left with no chips, no rust. Line-X protective coating keeps your truck's bed liners, rocker panels, and bumpers looking like brand new. Don't settle for Brand X. Go with Line-X. It's serious protection. Come see why everybody loves taking their truck to Line-X Regina for their rocker panels, bumpers, and more. Line-X. Make your truck complete. 1865 McCarra Street.
When most people look at windows, they look right through them. When the guys at North Home Windows look at windows, they see a chance to improve the efficiency and comfort of your home. They know old windows are drafty. If your windows are old and drafty, call North Home Windows. They're built in Saskatchewan for Saskatchewan conditions, meaning you'll get the perfect window for your home. And if you call now, you can still book a summer or fall installation. 1-866-362-6525, northhomewindows.ca.
Broadcasting from Century Studios in downtown Regina, Harvard Media presents the all-new Sports Cage, where Saskatchewan comes to talk local sports. Brought to you by Regina Motor Products, proudly serving Saskatchewan for over 70 years. Visit rmpchevrolet.com today. Be a part of the show. Call 1-866-767-0620 or text 306-936-6262. The all-new Sports Cage. Streaming at sportscage.com and on the radio at 620 CKRM.
The show is brought to you by the Canadian Brew House, where Wing Wednesdays are unbeatable. At Canadian Brew House, only 69 cents each and a mountain of flavors to savor, and a flavor of the month. Do that wing thing every Wednesday at the Canadian Brew House. It's Chris Mazurkin for Barney Shinkruk. He'll be back in tomorrow. Thanks for being part of the show. If you've missed anything in hour 1 or hour 2, you can always catch up on the podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, or you can just go to sportscage.com, where everything is neat and tidy. And you can also read about all the teams competing for the Montana's Brier and the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. And you can get signed up for the daily newsletter right there at sportscage.com. It has been an incredibly busy 48 hours in the Western Hockey League, and trades galore. And so we wanted to bring on Dante to Caria, who's the voice of the Regina Pats, to not only get the Pats perspective, but a little bit of the Western Hockey League perspective. So Dante, we're going to take our Pats hat off for a sec. We're just going to be fans of the Western Hockey League from about 10,000 feet watching from above. I had said this earlier. It's like all the teams are sitting at a blackjack table in the casino, and everybody is deciding to push their chips into the middle because they think that they have their guy or their guys that are going to get them over the top. The big trade earlier today, and we'll get to the Pats trade in just a sec. Andrew Cristall from the Kelowna Rockets going to the Spokane Chiefs for a player and 5 draft picks. Did you know this one was coming down? A lot of people thought he might be traded. Did you know this one was coming down the pipe? And does the return that Kelowna got back surprise you at all?
No, it doesn't, to be quite honest with you, and thanks again for having me on. Really excited to talk about the Pats and the WHL, because this time of year is so fun. Every time I get a notification on my phone, in fact, I have the WHL Twitter notifications turned on. I see trade, and I just go click on it, and I go, holy smokes, look at this, and holy smokes, look at that. I had an idea that Andrew Cristall would be moved because the Kelowna Rockets are currently not in a playoff spot right now, and they are hosting the Memorial Cup next year. And so they had to make a move that can help their team for next season. Now, they do get a 2007-born player that will be 18 next year. I was thinking that they were going to try to get maybe a high-end 06 or an 06 that could be good next year, but they decided not to go down that route and decided to go get draft capital, which they're probably going to have to use this summer to acquire some players to help bolster their team for next season, because they have Tijay Ginla coming back. They have Hiroki Goisick, who's going to be 19 next year. He's a draft pick of the Nashville Predators. But outside of that, they need a lot of help up front and on the back end as well. They don't have any big-time players like, say, Cristall and Price, who they ended up moving this year close to the deadline. So not surprised that Andrew Cristall was moved. I'm not shocked that the Spokane Chiefs would make that move, because next season is Berkeley Cadden's last year, and they're probably going to end up having to move him next season if they don't end up making another run. And since they didn't win the bid for next year's Memorial Cup, they essentially said, okay, the West is wide open. Let's go for it this year, because some of the teams out West haven't necessarily played as good as maybe we would have thought. So to answer your first question, not surprised that Cristall was moved. Obviously, the return may be a little bit less than what people would have thought, but I think Kelowna wanted to get a boatload of draft picks so that they can pick out some big-time names next year.
Well, one of the things Colson and I were talking earlier about was the division and staying in the division. And obviously, it's whatever's going to give you the best return. The trade that made me scratch my head, because currently Medicine Hat, Saskatoon, and Calgary are all fighting for first place. The Blades trading Tanner Molendyk to the Tigers for 2 17-year-olds, Erasny and Kachowski, and 5 draft picks. Did that one make you scratch your head a little bit too, considering that the Blades are fighting for first place?
No, it didn't. It didn't surprise me at all. I've obviously got a pretty good idea on where Saskatoon stands with their draft picks. And next year, they didn't have a single draft pick until the 7th round. And this year, their highest draft pick was in the 4th round. So they had to make some moves. It's not sustainable. Like, you need draft picks in order to build teams, and that's why they had to make that move. Now, they were kind of caught in the middle because they still want to compete this season. They're going to make the playoffs no matter what. I think the East is set. I think that Red Deer is not going to make it. They're sitting in 9th, and essentially all the teams from 8 to 1 are going to make the playoffs. Saskatoon knows, with all the teams around the Eastern Conference making moves, that they don't have the assets in terms of their draft capital to make moves to help their team this year, so they had to sell off because essentially they look around at Lethbridge, Calgary, etc., Medicine Hat, and see, okay, those teams are going for it this season. We don't have a chance to go for it. We're going to make the playoffs now, no matter what. Maybe we can win a round or two, and we'll go from there. So they had to make these moves in order to prepare for the next couple of years because, unfortunately, they're going to be rough years for Blades fans. They had to move Tanner Molendyk. I like what they got in the 2007-born players in that trade for Molendyk. They obviously get some draft capital as well, which is important. But Hayden Harsani, he's a former first-round pick in the league. I know he's been injured over the course of the season, but I think he has a lot of high potential. Jack Ketchkowski is a really good defender. He's obviously pretty raw, but he could definitely bring a lot to their back end in years to come. So this had to make it. If he didn't make it, then they would be paying the price for years to come.
Well, I think with the Blades this year, they're playing with house money. They're tied for first place, but I don't think anybody expected them to be in first place because everybody thought after going for it last year, this would be a bit of a down year. So take what you can get. And I think if they do kind of fade as everybody else is loading up, like the Hurricanes, and you had mentioned the Hitmen, that's how it plays out. At the time, you probably easily could have said this. I don't think anybody expected the Calgary Hitmen to be this good, but I also don't think that obviously many Hitmen fans, or maybe the Hitmen, realized what a good player they were getting in Tanner Howe, because this Calgary Hitmen hockey team, ever since he showed up, has gone from nowhere to a contender. They're really good. Are you surprised or not surprised in the player they got in Tanner Howe and just what he has brought to that squad, just being that one guy?
Well, Chris, he's not even their best player, right? I mean, you look at Carter Yakinchuk, who is now injured, so obviously they're going to be missing him, but they also have Sora Minio, who they got for 2 first-round picks from the Seattle Thunderbirds. He was one of the top defensemen on Canada's World Junior team, and they have Ben Kindle and Oliver Tulk, who are on a 20 and 17-game point streak right now. So Tanner Howe's not necessarily going to be a top scorer on that team, but he's going to have to play a role that they need, and that's somebody who can penalty kill, he can play in front of the net, he can cause havoc. But yes, they're getting a really good player. They had to pay a big price. Reese Hamilton's obviously a highly touted defenseman who's going to go probably in the 2nd or 3rd round in this year's NHL draft. But in order to get something, you have to pay up, and they did that in trading Reese Hamilton to the Pats to get Tanner Howe. But this team is just so good because they can beat you in so many different ways. They picked up a really strong goaltender in Daniel Hauser, who, in fact, with over 100 wins in his WHL career, is actually 17th in WHL history in wins. This was a guy who began his career, I think it was like his first 20 starts in the WHL with the Winnipeg Ice, didn't record a single loss. Like, he's as consistent as they get. Obviously, Wenatchee pays a big price to move him. They're in a playoff spot right now, but they're kind of in a retooling phase as well. So Calgary's very good from the net to the back end to their forward to their bottom 6. And they've added some nice depth players as of late. They've been able to pick up some really good defensemen, and in net, they're very strong as well.
So the one thing about the Blades and the Tigers and the Hitmen, and I'd mentioned this earlier in the show when Colson and I were chatting about it, they're playing just good team hockey. Like, they've come together as a team. Where I look at Lethbridge, and I know that they're in 3rd or 4th or whatever, but they're not necessarily great, and they're loading up on these players, and then they pick up, in the big trade the other day, they pick up Caden Price, 19-year-old Sasky guy. He's going to do a lot of things. Are they just trying to stockpile the talent and hope that it comes together as a team? Because that doesn't necessarily always work. Just trying to put the best players on the roster without the chemistry.
You know what? It's funny you mentioned that because actually Moose Jaw and Swift Current were kind of in a similar situation last year where they were a good team, but they weren't necessarily a great team as far as their records show. And in fact, Swift Current and Moose Jaw were actually in the middle of the Eastern Conference standing at this time last year prior to making some big trades in which we saw Connor Geekie play for the Broncos and Matthew Savoy head to Moose Jaw, and we know where the Moose Jaw Warriors ended up. I think they finished with just 5 losses in the second half of the season. Same with the Broncos. Like, that really propelled their team in the second half of the season. You also have to remember, this is a Lethbridge Hurricanes team that has been without 2 of their top players. One player who was playing for the Swiss national team at the World Juniors in Leo Breyer, and, of course, Braden Yager, who was representing Team Canada at the World Juniors as well. Miguel Marcus has been injured, and he's expected to be back in the next couple of weeks. He's a Nashville Predators third-round pick, so they haven't necessarily played with a healthy team just yet. I think they've underperformed in net, but defensively, this team is very good, like very strong. They've got some good 20-year-olds on their team as well. Braden Edwards is in his last year. This is a former 30-plus goal scorer last year. I think this is the Lethbridge Hurricanes team that really can fight for a WHL championship this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if they're able to win a WHL championship. The only thing that's hindering them, Maz, is the fact that they actually haven't won a playoff game in the last 4 playoff series that they've actually been in. And this is the second time that they've put all their chips to the middle and gone for it. That's right. They've been swept in the last 4 playoff series that they've currently been in. Last year they were swept against Moose Jaw. They were swept the year before, and they were swept the year before that against the Edmonton Oil Kings. And then obviously prior to they were swept in the first round of the playoffs as well. So this is a team that is seriously dying, not only for a series win, but for a playoff win.
Well, and the other thing, too, is in junior hockey, like if you don't, after pushing your chips in with all that you have to give up, and draft capital is the term that gets used all the time, it hurts even more. It's one thing if everybody's on a pro contract or whatever, and that's fine. But when the experiment doesn't work, that stings even more. So I'm sure that Peter Anholt, obviously he's looking for a better spring than, let's say, his new year started out from there. Flurry of activity today. The Regina Pats, Taylor Tabashniak, I believe that's how we pronounce it. The Pats pick up a goalie from Red Deer for a 2026 7th-round pick. What are we getting back from the Rebels?
I mean, this is a guy who hasn't played a WHL game just yet. He's somebody who was the U18 goaltender of the year in the Sask U18 league. So I've never seen him play, Maz, so I'm going to try to provide a good scouting report for you. I didn't have a chance to chat with our goaltending coach or any of the coaches. I'm not surprised that the Pats made this move because he was essentially the only 2007-born goaltender that was out there, at least from my knowledge, right? I know Red Deer decided not to bring him up as a backup this season, and from what I understand, they were actively moving him over the course of the season because he had not been given that opportunity with the big club. And so he was playing right now with the Regina Pats Canadians. You can watch them at the Cooperators Center. Again, as I mentioned, Sask U18 goaltender of the year. I don't know if he will join the Pats. From what I understand, he will continue to play for the Regina Pats Canadians, who are second place in the Saskatchewan U18 AAA League. So, hey, he's looking to finish off the season pretty strong, and hopefully he gets called up to the Regina Pats and we see what we got. But hard for me to say what the Pats are getting. I haven't seen him play just yet. I know he's got some size. He trains the right way. I would assume that they've scouted him. Dale Durkach, Max Paddock have looked at him. So obviously they did their homework on him, and it's a pretty, it's not a big price. So why not make this move, right?
4 games in the Western Hockey League tonight. You've got the night off. Well, unless you're going to be watching the Wednesday night in the dub game of the week. Moose Jaw will be in Calgary to take on those Hitmen. I don't like the Warriors' chances. It may not be pretty. Saskatoon's in Edmonton, PA's in Medicine Hat, and Vancouver's in Prince George. Pats are back in action on Friday night. They'll be in Moose Jaw to play the Warriors. Pre-game show, 6:20 CKRM will start at 6:30. Face-off goes at 7 o'clock. The Warriors and the Pats, let's just say it hasn't been the best of seasons. I think we can say. What are a couple of the things, like some of the shining stars, or some of the things that you're seeing this year that are like, okay, some of the seeds are planted for next season and the seasons to come?
Well, I think all the 2007-born players that Alan Miller has been able to accumulate over the course of the season, with the newest player being Ashton Brown, who I haven't even had a chance to meet just yet. You know what I mean? Yeah, I like Zach Pantelakis, Jace Eglin, Reese Hamilton, Matt Peranich, Julian Mays. I apologize if I'm missing out on any of them. There's so many, right? I think these players, as they're 18 next year, will have an opportunity to really contribute in the WHL. It's hard to ask of a lot of production from 17-year-old players. So I think the chips have been put in place, or the pieces have been put in place, so to speak. I like the youth movement. I like where this team is heading. It's nice to see them get a young goalie that can maybe grow with this 2007 group. But as Alan Miller has said in countless interviews that I've either done with him or I've heard him do, you can't trade your way out of a rebuild. The Pats need to build from the ground up. And they really had no choice but to try to get some younger players. You can't trade for 16-year-olds in the WHL, so there's really the only young players that you can trade for are 17-year-olds, right? You can trade for 18 and 19-year-olds whenever you want, same with 20-year-olds, but there's no point for the Pats to trade for 2006 form players, so you might as well try to trade for the youngest group possible, and they did that, and we'll see what they do. I mean, this is a great opportunity after the deadline for this team to feel comfortable, for these younger players to understand, okay, there's no more trades, there's no more roster movement, this is the team that we have, and let's just go play hockey.
Probably seen this because you're around the club. Once that trade deadline passes, how much more relaxed, or like I said, the 16-year-olds are off the table, but everybody else could be in play. How much more relaxed is everybody after that Western Hockey League trade deadline passes, knowing that, okay, this is my team. I know where I'm going to be to finish out the season?
It actually makes me a little bit more relaxed because I don't have to write as many press releases as I've done over the course of the season, no more trade graphics or anything like that. You mentioned hopefully I have the night off. I'm begging, tomorrow is the trade deadline, that I have the night off and that I don't get a call from Alan Miller tonight. We've made another 3 trades. I'm just joking. There's only one more day left. Happy to write any trade releases that I can. But yeah, I think everybody feels a lot more relaxed. The coaches, myself, the front office, the general manager, the assistant general manager, the trainers, the fans. I think everybody's all in the same boat. And see who's being moved next. They can kind of get to know this group that is going to grow together. And for the older players, they can kind of just focus on being leaders and, providing a solid example on some of these younger players. I like the character players that they've been able to bring in the last, couple of months or so. Caden Brown's been a really nice addition on.
Oh, did we lose Dante? It's one thing to lose somebody on video. It's another thing to lose somebody on.
Yeah, we'll call him back
phone.
here.
All right.
Give us a second.
We'll get him back on the line. Okay, we're chatting with Dante Caria, voice of the Regina Pats. The Pats are off Friday night in Moose Jaw to take on the Warriors. That rivalry will continue. Man, some of those games over the years. We'll have the pregame show on 620 CKRM Friday night starting at 6:30. Face-off will go at 7 o'clock. There is 4 games in the Western Hockey League tonight. The Warriors are in action. They will be in Calgary to take on the Hitmen. If you want to watch the game, it's the Wednesday night in the dub game. If you go to WHL.ca, you can just click on the link for free and watch the game there. They do a game of the week every Wednesday night. Saskatoon's at Edmonton, PA is at Medicine Hat, and Vancouver is in Prince George to play the Cougars. And Dante mentioned earlier, if you want to see goalie Taylor Tabashnik in action, probably getting the start tonight. Regina Pat Canadians taking on Estevan to play the Great North Bears. That's going to be an 8 o'clock face-off at Affinity Place. All right. If we don't have Dante, we'll take a break. And when we come back, oh, we got him? We got him.
I'm back.
All right. Well, it's funny. Maybe he had to pick up another call or on the other line because there was a breaking trade coming through, and he would have to get started on the press release. Dante Caria is back. Okay, so just a couple of questions. I just want your thoughts. We're from 10,000 feet again. In the West, no one's catching Everett. They're running away with it. They've got 61 points in 38 games. In the East, because we'd mentioned this logjam between Medicine Hat, Saskatoon, and Calgary, all kind of tied for first place. As it settles out for the end of the year, who do you think will end up in first place in the East Division in the Western Hockey League?
I know you might not agree with me, Chris, but I think the Lethbridge Hurricanes, they're as good as they come. I think they're obviously better than Saskatoon. I think they'll be better than the Medicine Hat Tigers. I think Medicine Hat has underperformed this year. The players that they picked up in the offseason haven't necessarily been their best players. I look at Matthew Ward and Ryder Ritchie, who were expected to be big-time players for them this season. Maybe Gavin McKenna turns it up another touch in the second half of the season, so that remains to be seen. Calgary's a good team as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Calgary could get first, but I'd be surprised if the Lethbridge Hurricanes go on a massive run in the second half and take first seed in the Eastern Conference standings.
So the Lethbridge Hurricanes, to this point, according to Dante Caria, they are underachievers. There is more potential there. This is like going to a parent-teacher interview when you were a kid, when they tell mom and dad to be like, well, there's potential. We're just not achieving it at the moment. All right, Dante, enjoy. Then until that Western Hockey League trade deadline passes, I know you'll be by the phone doing your thing. Enjoy, and have a great call on Friday night when the Pats are in Moose Jaw to take on the Warriors. And we will have that game 6:20 CKRM with the pregame show starting at 6:30. We'll do the face-off at 7 o'clock. All right, time for a break. When we come back, a former Saskatchewan Roughrider coach is joining a Super Bowl winning coach's staff. Have you ever played fantasy football and won or lost and had to pay the price? And what about billionaire accountability? When you're a billionaire, you don't owe anybody any explanation, right? Somebody actually did. We'll do that next. It's the all-new Sports Cage on 620 CKRM, and we're streaming. You can watch what we're doing on X and at sportscage.com.
Throughout the years, family will always be there for you. Two-Way Service, your Ford dealer in Southie, has been a proud family-owned dealership for over 50 years. The secret to their success? It's simple. Treat everyone like their family. That means no pressure, fair prices, and a fantastic selection of new and used vehicles. That's the Two-Way Service difference. Whether you're shopping for your first car or your 51st, get treated like family at Two-Way Service in Southie. Online at twowayservice.com.
Sask Lotteries has 50 years of winning behind us. And you know what that means? Lots of winning numbers. Numbers like over 1,200 organizations funded and 12,000 plus groups supported. $6 million given away annually in community grants. And the winningest number of all? $1.4 billion given back to the people of Saskatchewan through sport, culture, and recreation. And we're just getting started. Help us grow the next 50. Learn more at sasklotteries.ca.
Bidding is now open for the timed online land auction for Brian and Dawn Precision of the Melville-Yorkton area. Register to bid at macauctioncompany.com. Up for auction are 6-quarter sections of productive farmland in the arm of Gary with some very good soil types. Got land to sell? Call the Saskatchewan Land Auctioneers today. Bidding on the Precision land ends this Thursday, January 9th at 10 a.m.
All-new Sports Cage continues. You can watch our live stream at sportscage.com and always on the radio. Saskatchewan's voice for local sports, 620 CKRM.
Hey, thanks for being part of the show today. Whether if you're watching on X or on our YouTube channel or you're listening on 620 CKRM, we appreciate it. All guests appear on the show on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Perfect pizza with a generous amount of toppings. Call Western Pizza today. We have 3 kids, and our middle daughter, she is like her dad. At the drop of anything, we will be like, should we get takeout for supper? Because why would you want to cook if you could get takeout? Really? Drives my wife crazy. So today is Wednesday. So Monday it's become traditionally known as Black Monday. Once the NFL season ends, coaches started getting fired. But it actually started on Sunday, right after the New England Patriots game. They fired Gerard Mayo minutes after his first season wrapped, after they won the game and screwed up the very first pick overall in the NFL draft. And a lot of people thought, and I'm one of them, that Gerard Mayo, as a first-year head coach, really didn't get a chance with the roster he was given and the pieces that were left over from the Belichick era, which wasn't much, to do what he did. He spent time there. He was an understudy. He was loyal. He did everything he could. And then the opportunity was gone. But that's pro sports, right? You're hired to be fired. Now, the Kraft family, who I think they're classy, they make a lot of good decisions. I don't think you get to be a billionaire by making bad decisions. They seem like they're pretty good people. You know, they're always fist pumping when Living on a Prayer is shown on TV when the Pats games are on. But Robert Kraft came out the other day, and he's a billionaire, and he took accountability, and he said, you know what? This is on me. It's not Gerard Mayo. And this is something that never, ever happens. When you're that rich, you don't have to apologize to anybody, but he did. Watch this or listen to this.
I'm going to be very brief here and say this whole situation is on me. I feel terrible for Gerard because I put him in an untenable situation. I know that he has all the tools as a head coach to be successful in this league. He just needed more time before taking the job. In the end, I'm a fan of this team first, and now I have to go out and find a coach who can get us back to the playoffs and hopefully championships.
Wow. Colson, when's the last billionaire apology we've run on this show when it comes to sports? We haven't. If you're looking for the answer, we haven't. Yeah. I believe he was put in a bad spot. There's not, but keep in mind, here's what you're trying to follow. Now, keep in mind, Brady was already gone, but the Tom Brady hangover cloud. And then you're trying to follow Belichick. Somebody was going to have to go in there and be the sacrificial lamb. And it was him. I'm sure with contracts and he's taken care of. Here's the one guy, and I know that they're supposed to interview him. Here's the guy that gets the Patriots back on track because he knows the Patriots way. It's Mike Vrabel. Without a doubt, it's Mike Vrabel. And really Tennessee screwed up when he's the only option. And Tennessee screwed up when Ron Carson fired Mike Vrabel because they had a down season. Vrabel couldn't do anything with the roster he was given in Tennessee because he didn't put together. Carson did. But then Carson got fired. 9-25 with the awful roster he was given. Vrabel, by all accounts, players love. He's a great guy. He's tough. He demands respect, but he gets the younger players like he just is. And if there's anybody that can get the Patriot way, that has enough sway, it's him. And to get the fans back, it's Vrabel.
Yep.
And he's a great interview. Listen to any podcast with Mike Vrabel in it. It's awesome. Yeah. Like Bussin' with the Boys with Taylor Lewan and Will Compton and Mike Vrabel. Get ready to laugh. Because
he's a character.
He's a character. But I thought when Robert Kraft, I'm like, wow. Because normally, like the Tennessee Titans owner, and she's rich. I can't remember her name. She put out some statement. Oh, we're not happy and we're not good. So Brian Callahan's going to remain the head coach. Was he a hot coordinator last year? Because I'm like, I don't know. And the Titans have the #1 pick in the NFL draft, which if they're smart, they take Travis Hunter. Because I don't know about Shedeur Sanders as a quarterback. Like he's good and all, and he may be great for some team, but is he going to go in and is he going to save the Raiders who fired Antonio Pierce, by the way? So the Raiders are looking for their third head coach in 3 years.
That's the Raiders' way.
It's the Raiders' way. And apparently minority owner Tom Brady reached out to Bill Belichick to gauge interest to see if he would leave UNC after signing that big ticket deal to go coach the mess that is the Raiders. I think if you're the Davis family, if you're Mr. Davis, just go hire Gruden. Have you seen Gruden on Barstool? Dude's on fire.
I can't say I've seen. I think I've seen a clip or two. I haven't watched him in depth.
But as far as if there's the Patriot way and the Raider way, and a guy that is willing to roll the Mark Davis dice, is Gruden that could actually handle it. Because is there any coach out there? Do you think that Davis respects? No, Gruden maybe, Belichick probably, but anybody else is just. It's a business transaction with the lawyer where they fire.
Yeah. Tennessee
because
Titans
when you're that
owner
rich,
Amy Adams struck, by the way.
Yeah. So I saw that she put out a statement saying that, obviously because of the production, it wasn't there, but she didn't come out and say, like, listen, we made a huge error. I made a huge error in hiring this general manager. Everybody could see this coming the other day. Jacksonville Jaguars fired Doug Peterson after a 22-29 record. But here's the thing. Is it time we stop giving Trevor Lawrence a free pass? Are we allowed to pass judgment on Trevor Lawrence that he may not be the quarterback that everybody saw in college? He may not be a great NFL quarterback, right?
Yeah, I think we can start saying that. Part of it is, again, bad general manager, bad front office, but he's also had opportunities. Like, did they have Calvin Ridley in Jacksonville? I think they did.
Yeah, like I think it was Deshaun Jackson that came out and said, listen, Doug Peterson's a really good coach. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. Trevor Lawrence is just not a good NFL quarterback. Great college quarterback, not a good NFL quarterback, and that cost Doug his job. Because he said Doug's one of the smartest guys you'll ever meet, and he's a great coach. Yeah. But when you don't have a quarterback that can execute, and here's the reason why. If you're Trevor Lawrence, it's great. Because you're in Jacksonville and you're not a major market and you don't get a lot of PR, you kind of fly under the radar. Look at Daniel Jones for the Giants. Like, within that kid's second year, they were ready to run him out of town. Now, they weren't necessarily wrong, but there was no place for Daniel Jones to hide. Look at what's his name with the Jets.
Aaron Rodgers.
That Aaron Rodgers replaced. No, Sam Darnold. Zach Wilson.
There's been so many.
He got a year. I know he got a year. It's so funny after watching that the Aaron Rodgers documentary. I like him even more because Aaron Rodgers establishes that he's an Aaron Rodgers fan first and foremost. He likes the old Aaron Rodgers and he likes the new Colson and the evolved Aaron Rodgers. And I hope that there's 58 other dudes on the ayahuasca trip this year and 20 more TV crews following it all as everybody finds their spiritual center. You can appreciate that, right? The Cincinnati Bengals firing defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo. Somebody said if the Bengals had won one or two more games, would you have to put Joe Burrow in the conversation with MVP with as good a season he had with the trash team around him? With coach of the year is Sean Payton, because with what he did with Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos and that roster, coaching matters. But with Joe Burrow, with the numbers he put up, with the garbage that was around him, and always playing from behind and always being in a hole with a defense that couldn't stop anything. But that's the thing. The Bengals got to get that sorted out. Here's the thing with the Bengals. Their defense has been suspect. That Lou Anarumo, he was their defensive coordinator for the past 6 seasons. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Were you in any fantasy football drafts this year?
I was in 2 leagues, yeah.
And how'd you do?
3rd and 4th. Which
was there any prize? Was there any prizes or prize money for that?
Just pride. And the league I got 4th in, I had the best season record too. And then you get to the end of the season and guys get hurt or start resting, and then you're hooped in the playoffs. So bet it's a little too high there. I think Alan was in a league too.
So pride doesn't pay the bills. So in these leagues that you were in, if you were to have won, what would you have won? Well, Big Al, what would the prizes have been?
I didn't have any prizes, but I finally won my league.
Or cash.
I just won it for the bragging rights. I finally won my league after 3 years. 1 year I got second. Another year I got third. This is the first year I actually won.
But no money involved?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. Well, was there any punishment for the guy who came last? Or the gal that came last, like a loser?
No, but I might ask next time. So hopefully that's not me.
So it's funny, on the weekend, this went viral. So some dudes down in the States, fantasy football, a guy lost his draft, and apparently the loser, I don't know if you're a partier and you like drinking, I don't necessarily know that this is losing. So the guy in this fantasy football league had to go to Jason Aldean's Kitchen and Rooftop Bar in Nashville and stay there from opening till close. So from 10 in the morning until 3 at night. This is his punishment for losing. I don't know if this is punishment, especially if you like drinking and eating and watching sports and listening to country music. This doesn't sound bad. Now, there were some stipulations to this. If you wanted to stay less time, so you didn't have to stay till 3 in the morning, every beer that you drank removed 30 minutes. Every shot of Rumple, what's Rumple? Do you guys know?
No idea.
Removed an hour. You no idea? All right. So that would take an
I'll
hour.
ask Uncle Google. Give me a second.
Okay, and so you couldn't leave the bar for any reason, and you had to keep posting on social media. So this goes viral, and Jason Aldean or his social team sees it. So Jason Aldean said the first round is on him. And I'm like, come on, Jason, that's very nice of you, but the first couple? Jason, by the way, headlining Country Thunder this year. He's going to be at Big Valley. That's going to be a show. Ooh, and then they also, if you're an Aldean fan and you like a good road trip, I was going to text Barney about this. May 30th, Fenway Park. Maybe this is a Sportscage trip. Barney put it together. Aldean, Brooks and Dunn, Nate Smith, that guy who sings World on Fire, and somebody else. But that'd be pretty cool.
That's a good lineup.
So does that sound like fantasy football punishment, having to go to a nice bar with TVs everywhere and watch football on a Sunday?
Like you said, for some people it wouldn't be. I can't find what a shot of Rumble is, but I know the PG-13 version of this is going to Waffle House or Denny's and for 24 hours, and every pancake you eat is a half hour or an hour off. And I've seen videos of guys who eat 14 pancakes, so they have to sit in Denny's for 8 hours. And I can say that probably would be a lot less fun.
Oh, the poor wait staff. Nobody wants to see you sitting in their booth for 10 hours, taking up tables. As someone who's been a server before, we're rolling tables here. It's called turnover. We need covers, all right? We're here to generate. Run that ticket as high as we can, get a nice tip, and then you got to go.
Yeah.
It's in there. That's a lot. Pancake. Oh, man. As far as the wild card weekend goes, 2 games on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 game on Monday. Chargers at Houston, Saturday, 3:30. Steelers at Ravens, Saturday at 7. Here's the thing. If Pittsburgh manages to beat Baltimore, and I don't think that they do, there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be crushed because people are picking Baltimore to win the Super Bowl. People are thinking that Lamar Jackson, because he's healthy, that this is going to be the year. Denver is at Buffalo Sunday at noon. Do you think that Denver is going to give Buffalo a little more than they bargained for? I know Buffalo ended up at 13-4, and that last game really didn't matter, but I think Sean Payton, in a 1-game playoff, may give them more trouble than I think a lot of Bills fans. Do I think Buffalo will still win? Yes. Will it be as easy as a lot of people are thinking? Maybe not. Packers at the Eagles. I don't like this game for Philadelphia because Philadelphia, if Jalen Hurts, who's still in concussion protocol, unless I've heard otherwise, with Kenny Pickett, you have to take the Packers. And the Washington Commanders, with Jaden Daniels, now they're in Tampa Bay. Now the Commanders are 12-5 and Tampa Bay 10-7, but it's that NFC South, which is kind of crazy. I like Baker Mayfield though. I like him as a person. I like what he's done. Like Sam Darnold, been kicked around, and he's a winner, and guys like him. Speaking of Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings at the LA Rams, I told you Sean McVay in a 1-game playoff, and with what they can dial up, and they're playing the game in LA. And Colson, that game against Detroit, when you saw Minnesota have to settle for field goals or turn it over on downs, did that not worry you that that's the Sam Darnold that we haven't seen all year that can't finish in the clutch? When they need a touchdown, most Sam Darnold is not getting you that touchdown.
Yeah, and Arash said it yesterday. Maybe this time will be the one where we run the football and not try and throw I think it was a fade to the back corner. The Vikings are a good team, but yeah, is Sam Darnold that we know finally showing up? Well,
and especially against the Rams. No, keep in mind, Matthew Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback. Like, he knows what it takes to win, and he can be very efficient with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and with the way that they're running the football. And you still got Aaron Donald, and you got all that. You got that no-name defense in LA there or whatever. And especially since the game is on the road, I don't know if I'm a Vikings fan. And it's funny, Arash, he has to be worried because they've come this far down the aisle many times before just to be left at the altar. Him and Nick Swardson, who I love, by the way, great actor, but he is an insufferable Vikings fan on social media. But it's going to be good. It's going to be so funny. People are going to be losing it online. Money is just going to be, tickets going to be crumpled and thrown away. This is actually kind of funny. We'll wrap on this football note here. Apparently the word is coming from the University of North Carolina that former Saskatchewan Roughrider head coach and general manager, former Edmonton Eskimo, Calgary Stampeder, former pretty much every team in the CFL coach, Chris Jones, is joining Bill Belichick's staff as a defensive consultant. Colson, for everybody that's not watching, you're shaking your head and you're rolling your eyes. You know that Chris Jones always lands on his feet. You can't get rid of this guy. He's the man in black.
Yeah. I don't mean to use this comparison to disparage the guy, but I'm like, it feels like he's like a cockroach. You just can't get rid of it. He just always pops up somewhere.
He does. And the reasons, and you're wondering what, so remember when he left to go to the NFL because his ex-college roommate from, I think, somewhere in Alabama, Freddie Kitchens, who got the job with the Cleveland Browns. Freddie Kitchens is on Belichick's staff, and because of that connection, this is how they are connected again to be part of the University of North Carolina. So Chris Jones is gainfully employed by the University of North Carolina.
That college roommate
He's
connection.
a Tar Heel now. The college roommate connection pays off once again as Chris Jones lands on his feet. Oh, Saskatchewan Roughrider news today. The Riders have signed D-lineman Benoit Marion to a contract extension. And no, if you are just tuning in to the all-new Sportscage, the CFL did not release its schedule once again today. And I haven't seen any rumors online that it's happening tomorrow either. All right, let's take a break. The all-new Sportscage on Wednesdays is brought to you by Regina Motor Products. Thanks to the team at RMP for sponsoring the show. We'll be back. If you want to jump in and you've got something to say, you can call us or text us, 306-936-6262. You're listening on 620 CKRM, and you're watching the Sportscage on our stream at sportscage.com.
The air hurts my face.
'Tis the season to be freezing.
There's no other time of year when I appreciate Sherwood Co-op gas bars more than right now.
They pump your gas for you.
Because they're angels.
Or you can pay at the pump.
If you're the abominable snowman.
If you don't get out of your car, you can't get your cooperative coffee or a hot chocolate with those itty-bitty marshmallows.
That's why you're coming with me.
Oh, really?
Sherwood Co-op gas bars.
We are members.
We are owners.
We are Sherwood Co-op.
Hey, it's me, Terry the Talking Tire. Have I got something for you? Regina Motor Products has got instant rebates on all the top brands when you buy a set of 4 tires. That's a $120 rebate on new Bridgestone Blizzak tires, $90 rebate on new Pirelli Ice Zero Asymmetrico tires, or $70 rebate on all other Pirelli tires, $90 rebate on new Firestone winter tires, $65 rebate on new Michelin tires, and $50 rebate on new BF Goodrich tires. Regina Motor Products has your winter tires. Visit rmpchevrolet.com.
It's time to celebrate.
Bulldogs, national champs.
Shoresy's back for a new season.
It's the off season.
Sorry, off season. And it's only on Crave.
Hockey players always find trouble in the off season. You know what Sudbury's like in the summer.
Summer in Sud Vegas.
It's good and weird.
Summer in Sud Vegas, baby. Gotta keep our guys between the lines. Yeah! They're gonna ruin everything.
Boys will be boys.
Are you talking about the boys or the boys?
The boys. Shoresy, new season January 24th. Only on Crave. Subscribe now at crave.ca.
Nobody knows the equipment market like Ritchie Brothers. If you're selling heavy equipment and trucks, Ritchie Brothers will get you the most buyers, industry expertise, and the widest selection of custom selling solutions. Sell equipment your way from your yard or a Ritchie Brothers facility. Ritchie Brothers will drive demand for your assets like no one else can. Contact your local territory manager today to get started. Visit rbauction.com to learn more about selling with Ritchie Brothers.
The all-new Sports Cage continues. You can watch our live stream at sportscage.com and always on the radio. Saskatchewan's voice for local sports, 620 CKRM.
Hey, if you've missed any part of the show, you can always catch up in the podcast. You can listen, you can watch, you can find them all at sportscage.com. In hour number 1, we had Chris Getzlaf on. He is the newest, as he explained, he's going to be a consultant for the Regina Thunder this year. He's going to be helping the coaches. He's not necessarily a full-time coach. It's going to be a practice every day and on the sidelines. But when you can add a Chris Getzlaf to your coaching room, I mean, just look what that's going to do. I mean, just the insight alone that he can offer the players from probably even the most casual conversations. So we had a good chat with him. We talked a lot of everything. We talked about the charity classic that the Rider Foundation's putting on, and we even talked a little about finances and what we think about crypto. I didn't necessarily know. All I see are ads on the internet. Colson, I'm not sure. Al, I'm not sure if you guys are into crypto, but like every ad you should be in, but I've never really had anybody explain it to me. Yeah, it's great if we all would have got in 10 years ago, because it's worth, like, one Bitcoin's worth $100,000. So in hour number 2, we chatted with Eric Francis, who's actually stuck in a hotel in LA. He said he's 25 miles from the flames, but the smoke is everywhere because of the fire and the devastation that's going on there and the ash. The game between the Flames and the Kings has been canceled tonight. We don't know what's going to be rescheduled. Eric is scheduled to fly out tomorrow. So hopefully he gets back. There's 3 games in the NHL: Vancouver at Washington, Colorado, Chicago. Here's the thing, Canucks and fans, your fans are annoying. Get the Miller-Pettersson situation to handle. Do something or shut up and don't talk about it again for the rest of the season. Like, just do it. You're not the first workplace to have people that work that don't necessarily get along. It's everywhere. You can be friendly with somebody and not be friends and not talk. Like, I don't know what the deal is. Deal with it or shut up.
I think teams are a little different than workplaces, but yeah.
Well, a lot of workplaces, if you see everybody 5, 6, 7 days a week, it'd be, no different. Colorado at Chicago, and Florida is going to be at Utah. We got this ready to go. So you guys were talking earlier in the week. There's been a lot of frustration. The CFL schedule, the past couple of years, they were able to get it out earlier. Here we are. It's already January the 8th. To me, this is a major faux pas. This should be ready to go. Football, and I've said this for a long time, long before I was ever on the radio here. Football is an event-based activity. It's not just, there's not 42 occasions like an NHL home schedule or 36 games like the Dub or whatever it is. This is 10 games. So I've always said, for the CFL, if you want it to grow and you want it to prosper, as someone who's a fan who would spend money on tickets, you become a Friday and Saturday league and make it your own. You do it for the fans and you be consistent. You stay away from the NFL, like things like Sundays. Thursday night games, those are awful. Maybe work for TSN. Those are crowd killers. They're economy killers. They're everything. It's awful. Maybe in Winnipeg it works, but it doesn't here, because football being event-based, it's different because it's a different animal. It's a day-long activity. Colson, how many times you're going to go to a football game, right? So let's say you're going to go somewhere and you're going to meet up and have something to eat with the people you're going with before the game. All right. So there's that element. Then there's the game, and then there's maybe the after part. Well, when you start taking those elements out, like I said, it has that ripple effect, not only for the football fan, but for the economy. That Thursday game, you're racing to the stadium if you are going. But let's say it's a Friday night game and it's going to start at 8 o'clock because it's a doubleheader. Well, you have time if you're coming in from out of town, or even if you live in Regina. Going to go get something to eat, and then we're going to go and you do your thing. Or Or like with the tailgate culture, like there's a reason why college football in the States is good with just Saturdays, and that you start tailgating and then you have the game and then and you're okay with that. Make it your own.
Yeah.
Fridays and Saturdays only. Play a triple header on Saturday. Who cares?
Yeah.
Give
I don't mind that.
as much access because it's entertainment. There's only 10 games if you count a preseason and and then the 9 regular season. But do that. You need to build around. Like, I went to games before they were all of them were broadcast on TV and on the internet. Like your generation, you're more likely to consume something online than you ever will in person. You just will, and you don't need to apologize for that. But how they want you and your family, they want you and your wife, they want you to start coming to these things. They want to grow the fan base and get people in. Well, how are you going to do it? People want experiences now. Do you want stuff for Christmas? No, I want an experience. Give them an experience. Make game day something special, not just this rushed thing that's just made for TV. And I get it. The TV, that pays money and it pays salaries, but hopefully the new commissioner coming in has some idea or would at least be open-minded to listening. Because I'm not the only person that says this. To be like, football is event-based and you need to treat it as such. It's not a hockey schedule. It's not a baseball schedule where you get 81 home games. You just get through it as fast as you can.
Yep.
It's an experience. Treat it like that. All right, so there's been a lot of talk about Canada becoming the 51st state lately. And anybody that likes to vacation down in the States, hey, Coulson, with a 69-cent dollar, I'm sorry, if the Canadian peso at the moment is not exactly robust, if we just had American money, that's not a bad thing because 40% exchange. Milt Stiegel, who I'm beginning to like more and more, Milt put this out today because Milt's a thinking man, and he said if Canada joins America and becomes the 51st state, will the CFL be required to change its name to the NAFL, the North American Football League? So many layers of that statement are so asinine. Asinine is my way of using profanity without using profanity. And if you've never followed Milt Stiegel on Twitter, which is Milt Stiegel, at Milt Stiegel TSN, he's always hashtag paper plates. But Coulson, Milt brings up a good point. If we become the 51st state, do we completely need to rejig things?
I think that's the least of our worries, honestly. Definitely something to think about. But I think there's a lot of other hurdles that need jumping before we start worrying about the CFL.
Coulson, as a Rider fan, there's nothing more important than football. As part of Rider Nation, there is nothing more important than football. All right, that'll do it for the Sports Cage. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Barney is back in tomorrow. Coulson, Al, great job. If you missed any part of the show, you can always catch the podcast at sportscage.com. Have a great night. We'll see you later.
Young's Equipment Incorporated, your Case IH headquarters in Davidson, Raymore, and Chamberlain, is expanding, and we are looking for qualified service technicians. We are a locally owned family company in our 36th year of business. Build a career in agriculture with excellent wages, benefits, pension, and advantages that only a family-owned company can offer. Help feed the world and be well compensated and appreciated for it. Join the team at Young's Equipment in Davidson, Raymore, and Chamberlain, your Case IH headquarters. Check us out at youngs.ca today.
B&A Petroleum is a Southern Saskatchewan family-owned business that's there for you. They've been supporting their clients for over 30 years.